in the back corner when I'm not presenting.
Listening in.
And listen in.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bash University Live here on Tuesday night.
Take a quick break. Watch John Cruz's on the Tokyo rig.
Be a part of the show. Get some chances to win some awesome prizes.
It's Bash You Go. You know, we didn't have that back then. And
Dude, it can just...
That text thread gives me so much energy. I mean, like I'm dialed.
Welcome, everybody, to the Bash University Live. I will be your co-host tonight, Greg DePalma. Tonight we got a great show lined up for you guys right here in front of me. You guys probably can't see it just yet, but there's about $1 million in swim baits in front of me. We have a special guest tonight, Kevin Brightwell of KGB Swimbait. We're going to be talking pretty much everything swim bait-wise from A to Z. We're going to find out how he does it, how he did it, and what he's doing with it. It's a pretty interesting story, actually. Besides that, myself, honestly, this is the biggest gap in my fishing techniques that I don't have, so I'm actually curious tonight to hear about a lot of this stuff. Besides that, going around the room, co-hosting with me tonight, I have Epic Eric. I don't know if you can see him or not there. There he is. And the prestigious Pete Galuzik. What's going on, guys?
Hey, GDP.
How you doing?
It's awesome to have you in the host seat, buddy.
Yeah, it's pretty
looking
hot.
good over there.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, also around the room, guys, we have the infamous BTC and the Riz behind the turntables.
That's right.
Yo. Here we go.
Let's go.
Got the show off right in the nick of time.
Yeah.
Good to go.
Yeah, right on time as usual.
Guys, we actually have a special guest tonight. He's sitting right beside me.
Give me 1 second, Greg. I'm
He's going to zoom out for us.
over there. Rich, you got that? Go ahead. He's going to do it. Rich is going to do it. Look at this.
There he is.
Whoa.
You guys see it? Yeah, my special guest tonight, actually sitting beside me, is Keith Thomas of Blacktown Custom Lures. Keith is also a big swim bait guy, maker, producer, from what I hear, an OG in the game a little bit. Yeah,
and he's a big guy.
And he's a big guy. He has no pillow. I'm sitting on top of a pillow right now.
I'll slouch down for you.
Yeah, so tonight's show is going to be really good. Guys, we're going to jump in with Pete really quick because he's kind of on a time scale here. He's at the Potomac right now live, I'm guessing in the parking lot, Pete?
Yeah, well, live in my parking lot.
Live from the banks of the Potomac. So it should be like a palm tree behind him swaying all over the place. Oh, Pete Galuzik.
No, it's I'm with Tim McGlenn, who is hosting me this week. I met Tim in a BFL, the one that Riz won.
What?
The last year's two-dayer. Tim and I drew out, and it turns out we had a lot in common. We both knew Epic Eric, and we've just become friends. And he traveled with me and the crew at the Opens this year. And he lives right here. He lives like 15 minutes from Smallwood State Park. So, it's the best possible accommodations. Big shout out to Tim and his wife, Becky, for hosting me and little Jack, the little 1-year-old. Appreciate it. But yeah, that's what I'm here at the BFL regional, for my division. And, just want to congratulate everybody that's here. It's really cool seeing all the license plates from Indiana, Ohio, Maine, you name it. All the states represented here in our region. There's 4 different regions here, and it's really awesome to be here. But I want to just announce that Bash University is partnering with the BFLs for this tournament, and we're really excited about that.
What?
Yeah, it's really cool. We found Mike Reed in Texas, of course, JK down in Alabama, and Stephen Walden, all the guys that are with Bash University are out there in the BFLs, and all of our people that are members of the Bash University are out here in the BFL tournaments.
That's awesome.
So we couldn't think of a better thing to do than to help promote this great tournament organization, this great grassroots organization, and just connect us and interact more with our members. So we're really excited about it. Riz is coming down. He's going to be down here at Smallwood State Park. He's going to have the Bash U trailer and Jocelyn. And
Nice.
and all you guys, come on down and see us. We're going to be set up down at the weigh-ins down at Smallwood on Thursday and Friday. What do you think you're going to set up, Riz? Somewhere in the early afternoon down there?
Yeah, Pete, we imagine we'll be there, a few hours before weigh-ins on day one to get things set up and start interacting with some of the people. Guys, if you're in the area and you're an angler and you're not competing in the tournament, come see us. Come hang out with us. We're gonna have some refreshments, have the tent set up with the Bash U trailer. It's gonna be a good time, and we're gonna be rolling out some awesome promos for this event down there at the regional. So if you're in the area, we'll be at Smallwood, man. Come hang with us.
Nice.
Come on down. If you're a Bash U member, we got something cool for you over at the booth. So come on down and see us.
So Pete, you were the BFL AOI this year, right?
Yes, I appreciate you bringing that up.
Right. Is there going to be a trophy handed to you at the end of this event for winning AOI this year?
This is new to me. I don't know. I don't know what they have planned for me. I hope
but
it's
you
a
know what?
six-figure
Everybody
check.
come on down. Bring the whole trailer. Everybody come down.
No, there's got to be something for AOI. There has to be.
I see what's going on here. All right.
See the news at 11.
Yep.
Hey, Pete, I got a question for you, man. What's that in your hand? Your right hand. I see you holding an object, and it's caught my attention 3 times now. What do you got?
This is going to take me to the All-American.
This is
Pac-Man.
This is my lucky duck.
Oh.
This is my lucky duck. This is in my pocket. It stays with me, and
Is that a duck in your pocket?
Jake gave that to me, and it saved me today.
Wow.
Today, I had a day like you can't imagine how the day started. I go to launch my boat down at Smallwood, and I didn't have my nose hook hooked up. I thought I did. So when the trailer went underwater, the boat started to drift away, which is no big deal. There's a million people there. I'm fine with that. But
I'm Pete Clusick. Get my boat.
There's my boat, bitches.
Guys, he fishes good. Like Pete's always told me, he fishes really good when he has a lot of problems. So keep it rolling, Pete.
Keep it rolling, Pete.
So I'm like, I have, and I blame people like Epic Eric and people that live in the area. For the Potomac River is really tough right now. It's like crazy hard. So I have 1 million rods out, and I have like rods in the co-angler, like 15 of them sitting in the co-angler ramp and on my boat. And as my boat starts drifting, I'm like, oh, cool. It's drifting right towards the dock. And I just run down and jump in it. No problem. But then I realized, oh, it's drifting right towards the dock where my rods are.
Oh, good.
And about 15 of my casting rods started to fold over in half as my boat just started. And they're wedged under the dock. They're bent over. I'm like, no. And I jump in the boat, and 2 of my rods stay pinned on the dock, and they fall in the water. And
Oh no.
Somehow, I escaped it. None of the castings broke. Shout out to casting. I was able to get those rods that were in the water. I was able to get them back.
Well, who got them for you?
I got
The duck. The little duck.
duck.
He bent down and got him.
dude, and then it just kept spiraling out of control. I got sandwiches, and I put them on the deck of the boat, and I'm like, remember to put those in your compartment before you take off. And I didn't. And breakfast and lunch got donated to the Potomac River.
They were on the front of the
kicked
boat.
my cup of coffee over, and that was gone on the belly of the boat.
No.
Guys, I'm calling it. He's going to win this tournament. I'm telling you.
I love it. That's
So-
a good start. Dean,
so-
only the Dean.
So, Pete, why is the fishing so tough? What's going on down there?
Oh, but you know, Greg, there's just so much grass. There's so much food, so much grass, and the hydrilla has just swamped the river in a lot of places. And I think the fish are all still there because we see the big bags in the spring. But this time of year, it's like, oh my gosh, if they want a crawfish, they just go get it. If they want a shad, they go get it. There's schools and schools of bait fish everywhere. And, you know, it's hard to get to the fish. That's my best explanation. I really can't, you know, explain, you know, here's the deal. My first day I fished the Potomac, like back in the 1700s, I caught 100 bass that day in one day.
This is like the other day.
It's a little different now.
Oh.
You know, it's a lot tougher. It's the fall transition. There's a lot of excuses and dialogue that we can go into, but bottom line is, I mean, I saw 16 pounds won a team tournament this past weekend, and that's been more than we've seen in weeks down here. Like
that's
11 pounds a day. 11 pounds a day is winning down here.
Yeah,
on
that's the weekend that I fished out there. 22 won it for 2 days, and you know who I was practicing with, we did a little bit better than that. So you know, I was excited to see there was a lot of boat traffic. It wasn't a ton of boats, but enough. You know, enough.
Yeah, I heard through the grapevine that you took the enemy out on the river, Eric. You know what? Come on, man.
With the enemy, man. Fishing, but Pete, man, I gotta say, man, back in the day, man. Hey, just for anybody listening, I did a on the water training with Pete Kluzik, the dean. Man, I met him at a show. We immediately connected through discussions about crankbaits. We were talking about Jerry Lore's Little Speedy, and he was in Steve Chaconis's booth, and we just immediately hit it off. I said, you know, Pete, I'd love to learn a little bit more about the Upper Bay. And we went out in the fall and we did I was flat side crankbaiting and caught some studs and just learned a ton. We fished a few tournaments, and I've employed a lot of the techniques that I learned from you. And then, you know, I became a Bass U subscriber. So shout out to the dean for the on the water training and for the Bass U instructors and the Bass U crew for putting out great content, man. There's nothing like it on the web that's free. It's such a great platform. So, man, I still thank you for those days on the Upper Bay. It started me out and helped me learn a lot about it. So enjoyed it a lot.
I appreciate that a lot, Eric.
Yeah.
And it's been great, you know, and I appreciate you know, being part of the program. And
sure.
And now you're a big time web show star, you know.
I don't know about that, man, but I sure enjoy the invites and talking lures. And the night show is exciting, man. I've dabbled in the big baits. I've got a lot to learn, like other people on the show tonight that are hosting, and looking forward to the discussion. So big baits, there's some magic in it, man. I've caught some studs on it, but a lot more to learn. So
Keith and Kevin, I am not throwing this week anything bigger than this duck.
micro ducky bait.
I need a hinged glide bait this big. Can we do that?
Wow.
It's, you know, and it's probably, man, a guy that picks up a bait like that might come out and catch 2, 4, 5 pounders and do extremely well in this event, you know.
But yeah, I'm curious to hear thoughts on glide baiting in tidal water. Does anybody do it? How's it worked out? I've picked it up a little bit, but not explored. It's been mostly on clear water bodies and reservoirs in particular. So
reservoirs.
I've done the big bait rat thing on tidal rivers, and they crack it, but not the glide. So I can't wait to hear from KGB.
Well, I'm going to be listening in on that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get back to rigging, you know, my micro lures and whatever else I can bag and pray for, you know, to get some fish down here because it's pretty challenging. And the guys that are down here, like from all over the country, they've read all the great stories about the Potomac, and just it's a little challenging out there. But there's fish to be caught, and I know here's the guy that scares me in this tournament. The guy from Indiana or Ohio that's never fished the tides, that's never been to the Potomac, and he's looking at this place with just virgin eyes. just fishing the moment, fishing the conditions in front of them. And that kind of makes me nervous, or, how well could they do? I see guys fishing banks that, that I'm like, wow, that's not a bank that I would choose. But, I've been looking at this river for so many years, maybe I'm driving past some areas that I should not drive past, So those guys are going to be interesting to see how they play out. I guarantee these guys are all good. They've all qualified from their region. They've got the skill set. If they sniff the pattern, they're going to be dangerous. So
No doubt.
my goal is to get out there and I've got some bites, doing some variety, some fast bites, some slow baits, and I've been fortunate in the last couple of days. I've gotten more bites than I did first 2 days. I was ready to be done with practice. It was just stingy as could be, and it still is. But I'm optimistic, guys. I got enough bites that, man, if things go my way, we'll see what happens. But here's the other thing: we have 200 boats in this field, and Greg, what that's like fishing big tournaments, and everybody does here. But you got to give up half the stuff you find. You got to figure is going to be split amongst the field. So we're going to contend with that stuff too. So I love a tough tournament. They're the easiest ones to win. I'm going to take my lucky duck, and we're going to go take a stab at this one.
Yeah.
So
Tight lines,
and
man.
Pete, just keep doing that thing with the throwing your lunch and coffee off the back of the boat. I'm sure you'll distract a few people.
Maybe.
dude, I'm the veteran in this crowd, and all the guys in the BFL were laughing at me. I'm like, has Pete ever launched a boat by himself before? What the hell's going on over there?
Oh, God, thank God you took the Bass U wrap off that thing.
That's awesome, man.
Woo! That's saved me. But
Man.
hey guys, well, enjoy the show, man. I'll be listening as I'm rigging rods and stuff. But I look forward to hearing Keith and Kevin dive in deep on these big glides, and I look forward to learning more myself. So I appreciate it, guys. Thanks, E and GDP.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for being here, and I will catch up with you guys later on.
All right. Good
You
luck.
got
to
it, man.
All right,
Fine,
see you.
Pete.
Have fun down there.
All right,
See you, Pete.
thank you, guys.
Yeah, so guys, tonight, man, there is a heck of a giveaway tonight. I actually want to get in on it, but I can't. Riz, what do we got for a giveaway tonight?
Well, tonight, since it's the big glide bait show, we're welcoming in Kevin Brightwell to the show very shortly of KGB Baits. If you don't know much about this guy, his baits are extremely sought after. They are tough to get your hands on, even if you're paying for them. So,
Same with Keith Thomas.
as well as Keith Thomas, we have him in the studio with us.
And you can't get them either.
I don't make enough.
The bunch right here, Brian.
So, guys, the point is these baits are tough to get. And on tonight's show, for the grand prize, we are going to be giving away a KGB Chad on tonight's live stream. But listen, here's the deal. You got to be a Bass UTV member to get a chance to win this thing. And right now is a great time to get signed up. We're offering you an awesome deal. Only $35 for 3 months to Bass UTV. And with that, we're going to give you a $25 gift certificate to Tackle Warehouse. So $35 for 3 months of Bass UTV, unlimited access, over 900 instructional videos from the best anglers in the world. And we're going to give you a $25 gift certificate to TW. And you're going to get a chance to win a KGB Chad on tonight's show. That's right. And if you're not sold on that yet, you just want to kind of dip your toes in the water and see what's going on over there, use the code BULive30, and you'll get 30 days for free. Unlimited access to the entire Bass University TV library. Guys, it's a great deal. If you're serious about your fishing, you need to check out Bass UTV. It's the #1 resource for an angler that wants to learn. If you're over there on Facebook, we're also going to be taking care of you as well. There's going to be a Facebook like and share going out the door at the end of the show. That's going to be a $50 sponsor prize pack from all the great companies we work with at Bass UTV. as well as a couple of questions that we use on tonight's show. We're going to be giving out Gills Gear $25 gift cards. We appreciate those guys over there. They make awesome clothes that keep us protected from the elements when we're on the water. But, guys, if you want a chance to win that KGB Chad, head over to Bash U TV, get signed up. We're going to be taking a short break here in a few minutes. It's a great chance to join the program and win a KGB Chad.
That's right.
Hey, Riz, man, can I just I'm going to pop in and say Bass U. I mean, the discount alone on Rapala DT6's tungsten terminal, 40% off on the VIP program is worth it. Are you kidding me? I mean, it just makes economic sense. So that's all I'm going to say. Great content, but incredible discounts from your partners, man. So
pro member benefits, guys. Work with some awesome companies, and we're giving you up to 40% off with all the companies we work with. So
unbelievable.
Gills Gear, Missile Baits,
Cashin,
this the third. Right.
Yeah, there's quite a bit.
If you're not power shot and a baby D bomb at 40% off, I mean, I don't know what to say.
Power shot.
And maybe I'll tell you a color. If you sign up and show me that you do, I'll tell you my favorite color on the Tidal Rivers. It just gets big.
I bet, man.
I like this guy.
But you got to sign up and you got to DM me and show me that you did, and I'll tell you what my color is.
Yeah. So what do you think, Brian? Quick break. So you guys go ahead and get your IM questions together for Kevin Brightwell, and we will be back with some
Keith Thomas. We're
and
coming
Keith
back
Thomas.
with Keith and Kevin top of the hour. But
let's do it.
Aquaview, the leader in underwater viewing technology. Find what you are looking for. Catch more fish. Have more fun. Aquaview. Seeing is believing.
Why do you love casting fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA.
Strongest, lightest rod, 100% made here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick. Every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out doing a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Worming series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
We're different. Some would say obsessed. There's no place on earth we'd rather be than right here, right now. Performance-driven gear, so you can fish longer, harder. Gills Performance Fishing.
2021 Red Crest champion Dustin Connell here, and if you watch live coverage, we just got done at Lake Eufaula. I caught my fish using the active target with Lowrance. What you didn't see is I run a Sea Clear power harness in my boat. One of the main advantages to running this harness is it does not drain my batteries down at all running my 4 units. And what that's going to allow me to do is I'm able to see my bait at 8 a.m. just as good late in the day. Y'all check them out at seaclearpower.com.
Aquaview.
What's going on, guys? We're back. All right, let's hop into some big swim baits, guys. Right on the side of me, man. I've heard a lot about you, Keith. You know, through Brian. He talks about you all the time. Talks about
he's obsessed.
How kind of you're an OG in the game with this, man. You know, we want to kind of dive into. This is all brand new to me. I've heard a lot of things through BU stuff. We have a lot of content on this kind of stuff. But to actually sit down with somebody that really knows the ins and outs from building, making, what makes it really good, that's what we want to hear about. That's Bass University. So if you want to start from the very beginning and just kind of dive into it, that'd be great.
Well, it actually started with saltwater lures, surf casting for stripers.
Really?
And from there, it just progressed. I always did freshwater because I live in PA, but I always had a thing for saltwater. And my first true gliders were solid body. They weren't even hinged. So they had a big wide sweep, real hard thump.
How long ago was this?
Oh, God. You're pushing 18, 20 years.
Wow, that's pretty good. It's a lot.
I mean, maybe even a little further, like where I really start. Like there was a time where you just made stuff and just for yourself, and then it progresses into something a little more, and then every time you go in your shop, you always have new ideas, and you're always trying to improve.
Yeah.
On what you're making.
So basically, in the very beginning, you had an idea. So you must have had either swim bait experience prior to that, or it's just something you just jumped into.
Actually, what really got me into like swim baits. This is going back in the late '80s on our lake. In the springtime, the bass were really chewing on gizzard shads after ice out, and we didn't have gliders. We didn't have this stuff, so we were repainting our surf casting plugs, like big metal lips, Donnies and Pikeys, to imitate a gizzard shad, and we were throwing these giant metal lip swimmers, for bass back, and that was 88, 89.
So when did the actual glide bait, first come to anything as far as fishing goes for bass fishing? Do you have an idea on that? So did you guys have a vision for the glide bait, through your mind, or is it something you guys saw?
Not back then, because there was really nothing available to, especially where I lived. That even so we, referred to saltwater plugs.
That's actually pretty neat, man. In bass fishing, a lot of the stuff we do comes from saltwater.
Sure.
A-rigs.
Sure.
Everything we do, it derives from somewheres.
Yep.
So go ahead. So go into dude, look at these baits.
Yeah, that's 12 inches, 7 ounces.
That's just not something you just, make in your garage in 2 seconds.
No.
This takes a while to make, correct?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of, to me, I have a serious problem where I'll make.
We all do.
I'll make a lure and I'll perfect. I love the whole process of taking a piece of paper, drawing out a lure, transferring it to a piece of wood, and then making that lure function the way you want it to fit a certain situation.
Okay.
So I have a problem with it. I'm obsessed with making new stuff, and so you kind of put the good stuff on the shelf, and you're always.
Well,
I got to stop doing that.
Well, it's a good and bad trait, I guess. So me looking at one of these baits, so you just can't hop into it and make it. I mean, this thing has to go left and right. So
right.
Mold-wise, how are you actually pouring and making?
Well, when I first started really doing the gliders years back, every one of them was wood. I didn't do the resin, and I don't advertise, I don't hashtag, I don't do any, everything's word of mouth now. Because it's overwhelming. I bet I can't keep up. Even if I did advertise, I'd probably just hide in a hole somewhere.
It seems to be a common thing with these big swim baits.
Yeah. But now I'm doing the resin, which, it speeds up the process. There's also a learning curve with that. I knew everything about the wood. I knew the buoyancy to weight ratios, all that. And then when I switched over to resin, there was a learning curve.
Yeah.
And I try to mimic the wood that I was using, because when you straight resin, it's like a stone. It sinks. You have to add micro balloons in it, and you have to achieve a buoyancy rate and then when you add your keel weights into it and all that. So I try to achieve the wood that I was so used to working with into a resin, which it took a little time. But
yeah, but if you think about, dude, so you basically took something that you had no clue about and you made it, pretty much, for the most part.
Yeah, it's a lot of trial and error, man.
To me, that's the most impressive part.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, that's the funnest part, really.
Yeah.
It's creating and then actually making a lure, with a sink rate or whatever, to fit your situations and mimic the, like mostly we throw, gizzard shads. But to mimic that, it's cool. I mean,
dude, real cool.
To go from nothing to a finished product that just, we do well on them.
Yeah. We actually
I've got a question on the wood versus the resin. So when you first started carving out of wood and wood and resin baits, like wood crankbaits versus plastic crankbaits, did you notice a difference in the action the baits. I'm really curious. And what wood did you use to carve the masters? What was your favorite? And did you experiment with types of wood?
I did, because all different woods have a different weight to buoyancy ratios.
Sure.
But what I really like to settle in on was it's a cedar tree that grows up in Alaska. It's called Alaskan yellow cedar. It's actually a really well-known wood in surf casting. But that buoyancy to weight ratio really fit the bill on a lot of stuff I made. So when I switched over to the resin, you know, I try to achieve that weight to buoyancy because I understood that so much better. So much better. It makes the process a little easier.
Okay, interesting. So on a balsa crankbait versus a plastic one, the balsa seems to be more responsive. What did you notice wood to resin? The buoyancy was there, but what about the response? Any difference?
Not really. There is. It's so minimal. I mean, now I can change the micro balloons to the resin ratios, but like I said, I try to mimic the Alaskan yellow cedar buoyancy to weight more. So I didn't really change action too much. Like when the joints hit each other when you're swimming it hard, it does resonate a different sound.
Okay.
So
better or worse?
I really haven't seen a difference. No.
That's cool.
No.
Are you a silencer guy? Do you like to put silencers on the joint? Do you think that noise?
No, I like a little noise. Especially early in the springtime, where we're targeting them. You got to know where they winter, and where they're headed, when they make that move up. But in these areas, there's a couple ledges that are like 15, 18 feet down.
Okay.
When they move up to that ledge, it's go time. It's 100% go time. And the thing is, you are trying to make noise. You want them to see it. So I don't want something silent because I want them to look up. And if they look up and if they start coming up, I'm getting them on a hook. They're most likely going to eat it.
That is awesome.
Because if they swam 15, 18 feet up, they're coming up thinking it's real and they're going to chew it.
Do you have the original size that you made out of that wood and then made into the resin bait? Was that an 8-inch, a 10-inch, a 12-inch bait? What was it to mimic those big gizzards?
Well, I made over the years 49 different gliders.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Some of them are different, sizes of a body shape. Like instead of 8 inches, I made one like 9 I mean. That's what I was saying earlier. I have a serious problem. I like creating.
It's a good problem to have. Trust me.
It is in a way, but it's also a kiss of death when,
Sure.
So you make them, and then you're like you get this other brilliant idea, like I should do this, or thin it down a little bit more because gizzard shad and even crappie, they're pretty thin fish. So you like try to thin it down, then you realize it's too thin and it doesn't swim right, and you can't weigh it right, and there's not enough buoyancy. I mean, there's a lot of but I love that. That's what makes me want to do this.
So a question with swim bait fishing in general. Let's say somebody's new trying to get into this. Are you trying to match the hatch, or are you trying to do something different with these?
No. When I paint these, I am trying to throughout the year they change colors. We get a lot of ice where I live, typically. So when you get ice on the lake, everything turns real pale.
Okay.
So we go with more of the pale colors.
Kind of like this right here.
Yeah. And this one here, this paint job, I call it Ice Out. They have very little color in them. So remember, you're not going after like 3 and 4 pounders.
Yeah.
That's not what we don't even want to hook them.
Yep.
I'm looking for 7s.
I
know Brian just had a heart attack.
Yeah, I know that's a big fish for Brian.
Brian is.
We're looking.
So am I.
So you're trying to trick the oldest, wisest fish in the lake. So I want everything as much as realism as I can get.
Okay.
Like flashy colors. Okay, that has a time and place. Cloudy water or even like over like submerged weed beds and stuff. Burning them over top. It's just a flash. Bright color. It gets their attention. Maybe it triggers them. But that's the big thing. Most of the time I am going for realism. That because these fish seen everything. I don't care what body of water you're on today.
I got a question from Egregious Eric on YouTube. Have you ever done a June bug glide bait?
A June bug.
What would that match?
Down
in Florida probably work.
I'm on it tomorrow.
That's right here, man.
Yeah.
That's
Challenge
right here,
accepted.
Man. That's bad color, man. Don't be doing no June bugs, glide bait. I got the market cornered, man. All right, so I have a question. If you could only throw one size glide for the rest of your life,
10
in inch.
Ooh, we answered
What?
it quick. Wow.
10 inch.
Wow.
Where's a 10 inch?
No.
Is this it?
Nah, that's 12.
Chicks dig the long ball. Tell 'em.
That one. From head to the tip of the tail, it's 10 inches.
That's right.
10 inches. All right.
Yep.
There it is, guys. Very
And
fascinating.
it's crazy because the guys, we catch smallies on these 10 inchers every spring.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean they're anywhere from 4.5 to 7.5 pounds. But
wow.
10 inch, yeah. I mean, and we get our share of 2-pounders.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
How
the
many
thing.
ounces does that bait. How many ounces does that 10-inch bait weigh?
4 to 4.2 depends on what sink rate I want on it.
That's not hateful.
No.
Hateful.
Yeah.
That's not 10 elbow waiting to happen.
Now the 12 inchers, they're 7 ounces, so you're starting to get up into the
Pounds, baby.
Pounds.
That's
You're
for size comparison. There's KGB's Legend and the Donk, Kevin's bait.
I got a question on hook theory, and I don't know if it's too early to go there, but there's a big debate in the big bait world. 2X hooks to thin wire hooks. It's a treble hook bait, rod setup, line setup. I know Greg's going there, but right out of the gate, I saw the hooks on that bait that Brian just grabbed. What are they? I have to know. And what size?
Sharp as hell.
And what brand?
Their owner STX 36s. That's what I use.
So
they're a thinner wire.
Yes.
You have to set your drag accordingly.
Interesting.
And when I'm throwing the 10 inches, I'm no more than 16-pound fluoro.
That blows me away. 16-pound
Yep.
fluoro on a 10-inch
Yep.
bait. Wow.
Yeah,
All right,
but you're not straight fluoro.
Now I'm a braid the leader, but
Really?
still, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Wow.
How long's your leader and what pound
Hey,
braid?
that's a personal question there, Eric.
Mostly 50-pound braid.
Okay.
Leader length 4 to 5 feet.
So are you tying an FG?
No, I use the Alberto.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And what's your reason for the braid to fluoro on your setup? Is it something the way the bait feels or how you feel it, or
Personally, I can work it better.
Okay.
To
That
me,
makes sense.
I
some
get it.
guys,
I mean-
some guys don't. And there's a lot of guys that are straight mono or straight fluoro, which is fine. Whatever fits your bill. You know.
I can imagine throwing 16-pound straight fluoro though. Something's going to shit somewhere on that line. You know what I mean?
That's a lot of pressure on that line.
But going back to the hooks, I like thin wire
confident you're
hooks
not, too.
because you do get a lot of swipers.
Yeah.
where-
hooks them better.
Yeah.
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 That makes
Yeah.
sense.
And round bend, right? You're not mixing
No.
EWG.
No,
that
they're just round bend. Yep.
Nice.
And what size STI 36s are those on that 10-inch bait?
They're size 1/0s.
Both of them.
Yeah, I use 1/0s on the 12-inch, and I use 1/0s on the 10-inch also.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's really good insight,
And
man.
like I said, they're thin wire and they go in deep.
Yeah, they do.
But there is a drawback to it. On these larger fish that are over 8 pounds, you can't overhorse them.
Mhm.
You want to grind them in, but you also have to, set your drag.
So it's a delicate.
You can
dance
bend
to
them
not
out.
allow the-
I've had it
Yeah.
happen.
Wow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go there. That was a
How
bad
big?
day.
How big was she?
It was a giant.
What the
it was
heck,
beyond the state record.
Brian loves putting the needle in the heart, man. Every single
yeah,
time.
I mean, it's a Barbara Walters moment. you
Yeah,
know?
when he jumps on my
Somebody's
boat,
gotta
he's
cry.
like the black cloud.
Oh, is he?
Oh,
Here we go.
God.
It's just,
It went away this
Dude.
weekend, so you're good.
Yeah, he wasn't on my boat.
Yeah, he was on mine. We got him.
no, it just so happens it's a cold front every time I show up.
Yeah, it is. It's just bad.
The cold front already happened.
We had a
but
cold
I
front,
got a
too.
complaint from. Did we?
A little bit, yeah. Anyway, so guys, if you're just tuning in, We're sitting here talking about big swim baits. We have a great giveaway tonight. Tonight's giveaway is going to be a Chad Shad.
That's right.
Awesome bait.
Dude, I know personally, I
Indeed.
don't even swim bait fish, and these things are almost impossible to get your hands on. And we are giving one away tonight. Isn't that right, Riz?
That is right, Greg. We are giving away a Chad Shad to one of our Bash University TV subscribers. And guys, right now is a great time to get signed up. I've already told you a bunch about it, but if you're not a member, head over there, man. Get involved and win a Chad Shad on tonight's show.
Yeah, get your questions ready. Riz, any IMs?
Yeah, we got a lot of awesome interaction from our guys on the message board tonight. And the first question that I'm going to go with, Mr. Higgs is going to win himself a Gills Gear gift card for this question. Yes, Senor Higgs wants to know, Keith, when you're making a glide bait, are there different actions you want based on the size of the bait or the realistic action based on the natural swimming motion of a fish?
Wow. Ooh, that's a question.
Mostly when we throw these, I mean, now we're getting into that time of year also, but like obviously springtime is the right time. I want the slowest sinking. I want the slowest action, because what I'm trying to do, it just has to be presented to them. Like, I'm not burning them in the springtime.
You're
like,
slow.
It is slow motion.
Painful.
It's not painful.
It's painful because you're getting bites.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So
well, remember, because most of the time, in the very early parts of the spring, we're drawing them up from, 15 feet or so off these ledges. If I'm burning that bait, they're not even going to look at it.
Yeah.
They're not going to chase that down. But if you work it slow, methodically, make it look like it's injured, it's dying, struggling,
so
that is the biggest trigger, man.
Your cadence is like,
yeah, just
super
real slow.
slow.
Left, right. I don't do nothing real crazy erratic.
Yep.
Every once in a while, I will. Well, here. If they are down like a 15-foot mark or beyond, every once in a while we will snap the rod hard, and because this bait's only 3/4 of an inch thick, so if something's 18 feet below it and they're looking up, that's only 3/4 of an inch.
Yep.
So if you snap it, I want that bait to roll.
Oh.
Now it goes from 3/4 inch to 3.5 inches.
Yeah. So me being new, you can roll this thing.
Oh yeah, I can roll them. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty neat.
Yeah. So that's like
you snapping that rod tip down or up?
Down in a crank. Yeah.
Hard.
There's like a real hard
snap.
Yeah. As I snap it, I'm doing like a 3/4 turn on the crank.
Got it.
And with mine, I can actually make them roll.
Wow.
I mean, going here, I'll go into this. My best producing glider for giant bass, I can never sell. And not to be a jerk.
You jerk.
I know.
You jerk is right.
Because if somebody doesn't understand how to work it, they're going to throw it out and try to swim it in or quicker, and it's going to be on its side. My best one doesn't swim unless you are crawling it.
Wow.
And that's so I can just real small twitches with a rod, and I can make that thing kick on its side. And you want to talk about, something that looks like it's dying. That's a trigger. That's a trigger. Right. So that'll draw them up. And see, that's the other thing, like gliders. It's all about drawing power.
Very
true.
Very
whether you're pulling them up vertically or trying to draw them in from horizontally.
Interesting.
Very interesting. That's neat.
It's the drawing power of them.
Wow.
I mean, we'll fish right behind other guys throwing, chatterbaits or, lipless or whatever, and it doesn't bother us. We'll smoke them.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's really
the drawing power is ridiculous.
Right.
I've thrown glides on Clearwater fisheries in Virginia. They were big bass tour events, and it blew me away. Like, knees were knocking. I couldn't trigger the bite. So I really have a question for you. Out of 10 followers, how many can you trigger to bite?
It really depends on the day.
I know but if you averaged all the days where they're crushing it, days where they're just not biting, on average. So that's just in all your years of swim baiting and glide baiting in particular, because of the drawing power of these baits.
Right.
Just average, not great days, not horrible days, average. 10 fish follow. and you're doing everything you can, all your tricks in your book, how many can you trigger to bite that bait?
Average, about half.
Yep.
That's high. That's
wow.
good.
That's pretty high.
That's real
Yeah,
high.
there's little tricks. You know, it's all triggering. It's.
Would you like to describe some of those
Oh,
tricks?
my God.
he wants to do them.
I have my notepad ready.
Here, probably one of the easiest ones to do. You get
Yeah.
one that comes up behind it. Like this works, you know, pre-front, post-front. It's just a real simple trigger that we discovered. I'll start picking up the cadence if I got one tracking it, and then as I'm picking up the cadence, the fish, if the fish is still following it, and a lot of times like these giants that are like over 8 pounds, they're following it not behind it, they're following it below it.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, they're usually 3 feet, sometimes 5 feet down below. You could just barely see like the hue of a, you know, looks like a tuna fish.
It does.
And then you start picking up the cadence a little bit, and they start getting on it a little harder, and then you just dead stick it.
Oh, what?
Yep, and you try to make
With
that
no
fish,
turn. You're not turning it. It's
well,
just,
when you dead stick it, it is going to turn. I mean, because
Okay,
it's a
gotcha.
hinge
Either
bait,
way.
it's still going to turn. And then you're trying to make that fish almost override it, because if you make a fish override it, they're usually going to, you know, snap at it.
Wow.
Yeah, and and the other thing is too, you know, it's just like flipping and pitching, you know, something that's falling down.
Yep.
Interesting.
Easy target. So if you can't make that fish override it, at least you're still dropping it down. You're letting it sink down. That's why I like slow sinkers.
Yeah.
You know,
Very.
because you're
That's a
imitating.
great tip.
Well, you're imitating. You know, like I said, you know, I try to paint them as realism as I can for that time of the year, because they do change colors throughout the season. So now all of a sudden this thing is dropping down real slow, because dead gizzard shads don't sink like a stone. You know, they have a pretty slow sink, right?
do,
That's
very
why I
slow.
like slow sinkers, man.
So what's the rate of fall? What's the rate of fall, and how do you weight your baits?
What's the rate of fall of a dead gizzard shad in the springtime in France?
That's a
He might know.
To me, like what always done me. I mean, there's other guys that are going to disagree with me, and that's fine, because every fishery is a little different, or where you are in the country. But for in springtime, colder water, I want it to like 2 seconds, or 2 inches to a second fall rate.
Okay.
Like real slow.
That's real slow.
Like real slow.
So you have
Real
a
slow.
super sink weighted bait, and then a slow sink.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
then
it's
about-
easy to change. You know, I can add weights as I'm making them. I can make them
Okay.
sink fast or whatever. You know, it's
Are
just
you a fan
faster
of
ones. The faster ones, you're gonna be working it more. You know, and that's fine. Like when
Okay.
the water warms up, when the fish are a little more active, and you know, but like for early spring, when like 48 to 52 degrees, that's my magic numbers, man. That's where I get really good fish.
Wow.
So I want slow. I want everything to be slow. I want to work it slow. I want to, you know, have a slow sink rate, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
Have a faded out bait, like we do with the crankbait. We take the shine down.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
fade
like
'em
taking
in
the old
sun.
Rebels, and you know,
Oh,
alcohol with steel wool, and you're getting down to that bone color.
Bone, baby, bone.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
For,
Yeah.
for Eric's YouTube following,
Butyrate.
this is the second time tonight he's turned it into a crankbait conversation. It won't be the last, folks.
Bone home. Oh yeah. Sorry, BTC. I'll behave. I'm sorry.
No, do you, bro?
What else you got there? What else you got there, Riz?
Yeah, we also got a question from Bruce on the message board. He wants to know, Keith, how do you incorporate the weight within the resin on your baits?
I actually, well, here.
And
this
Bruce,
one.
you're going to win a Bash TV T-shirt for that question.
Before I put them all together,
Hope you're a 2X, Bruce.
the weights are actually laying in the belly horizontally. I already know how much weight, you know, for this bait. I already know how much weight and where it goes. And like a big key is with the baits, the lower you keep that weight. See, I'll go back. With gliders, there's 2 center lines you work off of. you have a center line from the nose to the tail, and then you got a center line that goes down the back or the belly. So everything that you hook, your hook hangers, your line tie, everything's on that center line. When you start getting into weights that are approaching that center line, you start having an unstable lure. It's a keel weight. The lower you can keep it, usually, the more stable.
Yeah, makes sense.
Now, like I said earlier, I do have one that I can never sell because somebody will buy it and
say something wrong with it.
Yep. But that one, the weights are up higher to make it that unstable. Right.
So that's how that's how you're doing it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, because honestly, for me, that's one of the first times I ever heard that. Where you're rolling them as far as making them give an appearance looking up.
Oh yeah.
It makes total sense to me. Yep. So. Guys, we're going to hit a commercial really quick right here, and then we're going to come back. I'm guessing he probably has Kevin Brightwell in the bullpen waiting on us.
Oh.
So stay tuned. Get your questions together for Kevin.
Good work, Greg. I'm sorry to interrupt your slide out, but dude, that's the first time somebody called it the bullpen.
What do you want me to call it?
I'm sorry, Rich.
It's a bullpen. We're a couple five-tool players in here.
Yeah, so we got a baseball guy here. We ain't called it the bullpen yet.
Yeah. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back.
One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together. The One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Tackle Warehouse is proud to sponsor the FLW Pro Circuit and is the official tackle retailer of FLW, providing proven bass fishing gear as well as the newest and hottest tackle. Our friendly and knowledgeable customer service staff can help you every step of the way. And we offer free ground shipping on orders over $50. Tackle Warehouse. Everything for the bass angler at the lowest prices. Guaranteed.
I have to be constantly on the lookout for new techniques to stay on the top of my game.
Giant.
Some have been more successful than others.
Giant.
The finesse fingernail.
Happens every time.
The chain gang.
Broke it off.
The crow's nest.
Never let go.
And don't even get me started on tackle management, especially trying to stop rust and corrosion. Peanut butter.
Not good.
Motor oil.
Gotta keep the rust off all these baits.
WD-40.
Gotta keep the rust off.
Silica, toothpicks, Q-tips, the list goes on and on. I'm hard on tackle, I fish fast, I need my tackle organized and protected. I can't be worrying about losing baits to rust. And when it comes to tackle management, there's only one solution. Flambeau Tackle Storage Systems with Z-Rust technology. The original anti-rust tackle box. Uncompromised clarity. Renowned durability. The infused anti-rust option that is FDA safe and free of harmful chemicals. The organization options are endless, but there's only one. One box, one anti-corrosion technology, one family-owned, American-made brand, Flambeau Z-Rust Tackle Solutions. Preserve, perform, repeat.
What's up, guys? We are back. Talking big swim baits. We got a lot going on here. I'm actually learning a ton. Thank you very much for coming in tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, we have Kevin Brightwell coming in. How are we looking, BTC?
We got him in the queue, guys. KGB himself is going to be joining the show here momentarily. And guys, remember, we are giving away a KGB Chad on tonight's show, but you got to be a Bash U TV subscriber. Head over, get signed up, and hang with us for the second segment of tonight's show.
That's right.
Yeah.
Any promotions? What is it? 30 seconds, 30 minutes to 30 days?
Yeah, so also right now there's a 3 months a 3-month subscription program for Bash U TV. $35 for 3 months, unlimited access to 900 instructional videos, and a $25 Tackle Warehouse gift card comes with that. And you got a shot to win the KGB Chad at the end of tonight's show. So we're looking forward to this one. It's going to be great. GDP, are we ready to
let's bring him in, guys?
That's right. Okay.
The man himself.
Drum roll, please.
There he is.
There he is. Kevin, what's going on, man?
What's going on? How are you guys?
Oh, we're just talking about big bass and big baits. Something you're kind of familiar with, right?
A little bit.
Yeah, I bet you
Been doing
are.
it for a little while.
So myself personally, here in South Jersey, you actually have a giant presence, believe it or not.
Yes.
That's what I've heard.
I've been hearing about your baits for a long time. I do have zero, but I have hearing about it.
You ain't the only
two
one.
of us, Greg.
There was
There's a couple there you could grab.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Good luck from that,
Watch
Brian.
your ass.
But man, there was a few tournaments last year in the winter leagues where your bait was dominating the tournaments. Guys were. It's tough here in South Jersey. I don't know if you ever been here or not, but in the wintertime.
No, I'm not.
In the wintertime, you're looking at 3, 4, if you're lucky, 5 bites, and these guys were catching giant fish while nobody else was catching anything.
That's awesome. And that's stuff that I really don't get to hear a whole lot of. I don't hear a lot of the tournament feedback. I do from some guys, but it's typical tournament. Most guys want to keep that bite really quiet.
Yes,
So
we tried. It didn't work.
Sorry, Brian.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many people hit me up? Yeah, okay. Yeah, you got the hookup. You can get me them. I'm like, yeah, beat it, dude. Get in line like everybody else.
Like you already know, once you do one social media post, it's pretty much over with for the most part. But yeah, man. So we want to hear about you. I read your story kind of a little bit today on the internet. Who knows if it's true or not? So that's why we have you live here tonight. I want to kind of find out for myself. But
no.
Me and you got something actually in common. I'm not going to spill the beans, but talk us through where you're from, how you got started, and where you are today, and kind of taking a big leap of faith, basically.
Yeah. So just a little backstory. I grew up here in Northwest Arkansas. Moved out to California whenever I was, 13, 14. I started high school out in California, and the lady, I always fished. I fished growing up. Was always messing with stuff, tying little flies and stuff like that. I would put feathers or hair on a hook, just even when I was 4 and 5 years old. My family was telling me a story the other day. They used to laugh because if I would ask them to go fishing, and they said, man, if we take him fishing, it's not a quick fishing trip like you would normally expect with, 4 or 5 year old. I'd be out there for hours. So it was kind of funny. I grew up fishing. Moved out to California and really got good at finesse fishing. Really good. I was fishing Castaic Lake a lot. That was the closest lake to me. So it just happened to be that's also kind of that was back in 05 and 06. Even a little bit before that. And that a lot of people know that's like the holy grail for swimbait fishing. Like that's where, or it used to be. I wish it still was the same.
Yeah.
But I picked up on swimbait fishing out there. Got introduced to a few guys, and they kind of pointed me in the right direction. My first swimbait was a Huddleston. My first bass on a swimbait was about 8 pounds. And prior to that, and at this time, I'm 15, 16 years old. Prior to that, my biggest bass was 8 pounds, period. So I shattered my personal best. And the one bass I caught had half its mouth was ripped off. It was kind of a freak fish. And it was no wonder why she was so aggressive. She came out and hit the bait like 3 times before I actually hooked her. That really, I fished for almost 2 weeks nonstop with just swimbait, just that Huddleston. That's all. Only had one, and I almost fished pretty much 2 weeks nonstop. Only throwing that Huddleston. It got to the point where that's the only rod I would take out, because if you're new and really trying to focus into it, that's the only way you're going to learn, because 5 minutes in, you're going to put it down and go back to what you're used to.
Yeah.
So it was another week later I was casting kind of the same area and ran that Huddleston underneath the buoy and slammed. There's a big bite, and this is only the second bite that I've had on a swim bait, period. And that fish ended up being almost 16 pounds.
Wow. Oh my God.
Damn.
What in the hell?
It was 15.9. So here I am, 16 years old, just landed what is still my personal best largemouth. But that kind of like having a hard time describing. I guess that put a seed in me that drove me to nonstop swim baiting. That's like, for anybody who's familiar with deer hunting and stuff, that's like shooting a 30-point buck for your second deer. It's one of those obsessions that you're never going to beat, or hopefully I do someday, but
yeah, I mean, that's like Pam Anderson breaks your cherry, you know what I mean? where the hell you go from there?
In the 90s.
Yeah, where do you go?
It's a long road.
Leave it to BTC, always.
So that really kind of set the tone for me, like just personally trying to swim bait fish. And since then, I've literally like not fished anything else.
Wow.
Very, very few times have I picked up a jig or anything. So fast forward a few years, moved back to Arkansas, and I leave all my swim bait stuff out in California with my brother. I didn't think it was going to work here. And I was, that's the only time where I started picking up jigs and stuff again. Picked them up for a little while, and I was still hooked. I was like, man, and I was dirt poor when I moved back here. I moved back here with like $2 to my name. And so I sat down and carved a swim bait out of wood and old bits and pieces of baits that I had in my basement, and put it together and went out and caught a fish. And I thought, okay, that was cool. And then did it again and again and again. And the first ones were hideous. There were blocks of wood, paint was falling off. I was spray paint job, and I didn't even seal them or anything. So they would swell up and crack, but they were catching fish. And that addiction, that I finally got a job, like a decent job, and started pouring my paychecks into building baits. And, there were times my family thought I was crazy because here I am spending half my paycheck or more than half my paycheck on materials, starting to build baits. And one thing led to another, and here we are today. Got good at it, and people started wanting them, and finally was able earlier this year, quit my job at the fire department and started making baits full time.
Wow, that's impressive.
That's
man.
awesome.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
That's kind of a quick rundown of how all that evolved and how we got to where we are today. Excuse me.
Yeah. Eric, I'm sure you're probably burning for a question right now.
Well, we heard about the big bait that got him started, the Huddleston, the iconic bait in California in the swim bait game. We heard about his first few prototypes. How did you refine that first prototype and arrive at what your flagship bait? I guess that was the first one, the Chat. Tell us about the journey. How many prototypes did you have to make before you go, this is the one I want to release to the public? What was that process? Tell us about that journey. Dying to hear.
Yeah. So actually the first few baits I made, the first ones that got really good that I thought were, which I'm actually going to end up bringing back later. We're going to kind of start doing a little like throwback series, was a bluegill. And I wish I would have grabbed one. I have one upstairs.
What?
I can run and get it.
Oh,
if we take a break, I'll run and get it.
all right, we're taking a break right now. somebody sing a song.
Yeah.
Hey,
So I can go get it if you guys want. It'd take me 2 seconds.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
go get it. Go get it.
Let him decide.
Yeah.
Show us
I'll
the
be
four
right
big
back.
baits over there on that
Eric's
table,
shaking
man.
right now. Go get
Yeah,
it.
go get that bluegill.
I'll be right back. It's the only bait it's the only break I'll have to take. So give me 1 second.
Perfect. We're in for it.
See that, man. We got to see that.
This bluegill break brought to you by Founders All Day IPA. It's delicious.
I want to know if
Pulls you off on us.
I want to know if Kevin's middle initial is really G.
We're gonna find out.
KGB, because K and B makes sense.
Yeah. Gerard
could be Greg.
Could
be.
Well, all right.
Damn, that was
Yeah,
fast.
the brother from another mother, De Palma. You need a full lineup in series. So just start holding up some of those baits on that table. For the love of God, give me a show of those swim baits, Greg. Hold them up. Just pick a bait up and hold it during this break. I gotta see him, man.
Break's over.
Yeah.
He's back.
I'm back.
That was quick.
Okay.
All right, what do you
All
got?
right, cool.
Let's see this thing.
So right here, we'll try to get out of the lighting.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know if that. I don't know if that is good lighting or not.
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, and I can post a picture later or something, but this bait was probably the first one that I did really, really good, and it was a good bait.
Hold up one
still
more
is a
time.
good bait. What's that?
Let me see it one more time.
Yeah. I'm trying to get the lighting right.
So a hard
Got it,
tail,
got
3 joints. How many ounces on that bait?
This one is around 2.4, 2.5. So it's relatively light.
Yeah, what'd you name it?
Ron.
KGB bluegill. I never named it
Okay.
anything, just the KGB bluegill.
Gotcha.
But this bait was really, I made and sold over 300 of them back when I first started. But the problem is, like, I was a new builder. These are absolutely phenomenal baits. They were crushing it. But what happened is kind of similar to what happened with Depths when it first came out. I had one buyer. He bought one to give it a shot. He went out and he caught reportedly an 18-pound bass on it.
Hey, what?
That was out of Texas. Wow. And he never let them get the opportunity. He bought every single one of them at that time. So almost all 300 baits went to that one gentleman. And he since passed, but he cornered the market on them. So I never even really got my name out there. There weren't a lot of people to use them. And I was doing it the same way that I was, that I do now. It was first come, first serve. And he, just jumped on it every single chance. And because nobody really got a chance out, there's a few out there. I actually bought this one back. This one made it circuit. This one was in 4 different people's hands. And
very cool.
And I didn't have any myself. I lost my last one from the original run back, 7-8 years ago. And I wanted one of the originals, so I bought it back or traded. I had to trade pretty heavily for it, but got it back.
I love it.
What they get you for?
They got me for, what is it? 3 or 4 legends and a king. I forgot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but dude, that's a good trade in my opinion.
Yeah, I wanted it
it's
back.
Worth it.
So,
It is,
it's worth it.
but that was somebody's dirty.
I know, but still, you would do the same thing, Brian.
No, I wouldn't.
Yes,
No
you
way,
would.
no way.
Come on.
That's like catching a home run ball for somebody's, that was his rookie season bait, man. I mean, it was worth every penny of that.
Yeah, but that dude makes $18 million. We're talking about Kevin here.
This is one of the original ones. I'm saying, dude.
I thought Kevin made $18 million. What's going on here, man?
He's working on it.
Working on it. Get there one day.
Yeah.
All right, bravo, man, bravo.
Yeah. So Kevin, while we're talking about your baits, I can see on the paper you have a pretty good lineup of baits that you sell, correct?
Yeah, and it's constant. It's evolving constantly. We've got some old baits that we've made and remade, and just keep fine tuning and refining them. But yeah, we've got a pretty good list of baits and more that are going to be coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, awesome. And I see you
So,
also.
Greg, real quick, Greg, the original question, we have to get to this journey because he made a bluegill bait. It's about the glide bait. So tell us about the process. Why did you stop the bluegill and start the glides? And for the original glide, how many prototypes and the journey there? That's a monster transition. It's a complete. It's still you got a 3-jointed bait and a 2-jointed bait on the glide side. Talk to us about that. I got to hear that.
Right.
GDP,
So,
I got it.
Oh yeah. Dig in, man.
So on the glides, I got really interested in glides, and that was really almost when they were kind of the new thing. Unfortunately, I wasn't good at making glide baits. I made a 10-inch glide. I don't have one here. But I made like a 10-inch glide, and it was kind of a shad trout. It was a fish profile. It wasn't anything real specific. And I thought it was a pretty decent bait. Tested them for 6 or 8 months.
Wow.
I was catching fish on them. They would really only slow roll. Like they would not go. You couldn't burn them. You couldn't do much with them other than sit there and slow roll them. So I went to go put them out there. At that time, 20 baits a month, 30 baits a month was a lot for me. That was a lot. But they were fully finished. I mean, just like the bluegill, they were really nice baits, but they were kind of limited on their action. And when I put them out there, there was another, and I'm not going to say names or anything, but there was another really renowned bait maker at the time who kind of bashed them. And and I ended up not, like, it was on a public forum. It's on Facebook. And when he bashed them, it kind of crushed that bait. Nobody wanted to buy them. And here I spent, a couple months of research, multiple months of research and development, and at the time, like all my paychecks were going into these, and I was really needing that return because I was still in the phase of like dumping money into it. Nobody bought them. So I was like, okay,
Wow.
what can I do to be better? And so that made me go back and I carved a shed. And to be honest, it sucked too. And I just kept on going back and back and back and refining it to where I finally had a bait that could do all speeds that I wanted. And now looking back, that was the original Chad Shad. That when I got to the point where I could do all the speeds that I wanted and do all the tricks that I wanted with them, we were probably 15 versions in, maybe 20 versions of that same bait.
Holy, wow.
And then I went out to a show in California, and that was I sold a handful and went out to Oliver Nye with the Big Bass Dreams. He invited me to his premiere showing out there, and I set up a booth. So I flew out there. I had family out there anyway, so it just worked out really well. Flew out there and set up a booth and sold a handful of baits. And I also brought the Bullfrog with me, which got a lot of, popularity and all that stuff. But really for me, the Bullfrog was kind of a side thing. We can talk about that later, but the shed, it sold, and then people were liking it and giving me feedback and really digging it. And so now that kind of introduced my name out there a little bit more. Went back and just kept on refining that shed and refining it. The first really big thing for me where I said, okay, I've got something, was I upsized it. There's ways that you can upsize your molds. Excuse me. It's kind of, the molds are soft silicone and you can expand, you can soak them in some stuff and they'll expand and get bigger. But I came out with a King, and this was kind of the thing for me where I really learned a lot was on the King. And this is one of the original versions of it.
That's so cool to see.
It's an 11-inch bait. And it was just a really scaled up Chad Shad is what it was. And when I scaled it up, I learned more about where joint angle and weighting and all that stuff, and really refined the bait itself. Took the King out and fished a tournament, the Big Bass Bash up at Lake of the Ozarks, and ended up placing third place on the King. And so I was like, okay. And the day before the bash, I went to a little pond, through the original Chad Shad, through every bait I had, and didn't catch anything.
What?
And I pulled the King out, and I was showing a buddy, I said, hey, just look at this bait in the water. End up getting a hit. And this is out of a small pond, like tiny. It was an old abandoned theme park.
Drawing power.
Yep.
Yeah.
So threw the King out and got whacked. I thought, okay. So I threw it out again and caught a fish.
Wow.
But for the next 45 minutes, we just slammed fish on the King. I mean, just fish after fish.
On a bigger bait.
They wouldn't eat a 7-inch. They wouldn't eat anything. We even, my buddy, he was throwing Senkos in there, and they wouldn't even eat it.
Oh, round of applause.
I was actually wondering if it was
Finally.
tonight.
I got a big shout out for that lake and those fish
Pete,
for snubbing their nose at the damn Senko and eating a real
You're going to get a prize
There's some
pack from the
backstory there that I don't know.
something.
Right from Brian the Carpenter, man. He's sending you a prize pack tonight for saying, finally, you win. You win the
Like I said,
Chad Shad. I can't believe
There's some
it.
backstory that I don't know there, but I'm not going to get involved in
What
that.
color Senkos?
But listen, it's not that deep. It's just I'm like everybody else. Tired of the damn Senko. So it's good to see. It's good to see. That's all I'm saying.
So the King Shad, man, just turned your brain around on the whole thing. Wow.
It gave me the room to refine it more, because it's hard to refine a tiny bait. You make one tiny adjustment and the whole, that's a small adjustment on a tiny bait is massive. Well, a small adjustment on a big bait, you've got more room to learn and play with.
Sure.
So I got to say, a lot of my learning curve for the Glide came from the King, and refined it. And I was able to then downsize everything that I learned and ended up with the Chad Shad. And I'd say now realistically, we're probably 35 generations in on the Chad Shad at this point.
How about that?
Wow.
That's a lot. It just takes a lot.
Generations. How do you create a generation? Is it a new silicone mold and you're using resins, or okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I'll take an existing bait and carve it and make all the tweaks that I want, and then if I like it, then I'll remold it and then clean it up and then remold, and it's a constant process of molding and remolding and just making little adjustments here and there that you want, and try not to blow through mold material doing it. So,
Wow.
So Kevin, out of your lineup, obviously a Chad Shad is a great seller. Which one's the sleeper in your whole lineup? If a guy's looking to, go from the Chad Shad to the next one, what should they be buying?
the sleeper is probably the Benson. That thing absolutely slays. Sorry, I got a gnat in here. The Benson, and there's a whole bunch of the old version out. I'm about to release a new version. We've actually been pouring them. We're going to be releasing those probably in the next week or two. But the old version is right here, and it's a 3-piece. It's a sleeper for sure, because you can just slow roll. Anybody who knows a multi-joint bait, you don't have to. I guess they're more versatile in some ways, because you can throw them, whether it's glass water or the windiest chop, you can throw them in all the same conditions you can throw a glide. You can throw a glide in any condition, but something that's special about the Benson is its ability to draw that bite and keep fish glued to it, whether they're really hungry or not. They'll follow this bait and eventually just crush it.
How do you trigger the bite with the Benson? We heard earlier tonight, speed up that retrieve, that fish under the bait, and then stop it, and then have the fish overrun it. On the multi-jointed bait, what's your trigger to get them to commit as they if you see them?
Right. So if I'm seeing them, it's mostly just the erratic. Make it look like a bait fish that is fleeing, like all the same stuff. When you're swim bait fishing, you get a lot of followers, and a lot of the times, even in super clear water, you might only see them 10 feet from the boat or 10 feet from the shore.
Hell yeah.
And then 99% of the time, what do people do? They freak out and they start trying all these different things to trigger a bite. They should have been trying those things 50 feet out. Those same things that you would try to do to trigger a bite, or that you do right at the boat that triggers a bite, do that, but at the end of right when you start your cast. Just imagine that there's a fish already there.
Right on.
So you make it look more like a fleeing bait fish. Start slowly and progressively speed up, and then a couple twitches and pause, like it's going to change direction, and then repeat. You can just do that, or just a steady. It depends on what kind of mood they're in. If they're in a feeding mood, a full-on feeding, you can just slow roll them. You don't have to do anything special. Just they're going to see it. They're going to try to eat it and kill it.
Right on.
If you're actually having to trigger bites, doing that slow progression to make it look like, oh crap, there's something behind me, and then pausing it, you almost end up in a full burn, and then just an immediate pause. And usually if they don't eat it right on the pause, they'll eat it right when you start again, and you'll just feel a solid hit.
Wow.
So
Kevin, we have Keith Thomas here sitting with us tonight, who's also a big swim bait guy, produces his own stuff here locally. A lot of the same stuff you guys are saying, the same stuff back and forth, and I see him shaking his head a lot here, like, a lot of the same resin stuff when we were building them, critiquing them, talking about getting the fish to trigger a little bit. Any tricks besides what you said that you also do that, you can share with some of the Bass University guys that are getting into swim bait fishing?
Yeah. So basically, if people are getting into swim bait fishing, you can never start off too slow. You go out on any variable day, any day of the week, and say you're starting daylight. Start off slow, and progressively for the next 30, 45 minutes or hour, slowly every fourth or fifth cast, just pick it up just a half the speed. Not a full speed, just pick it up just a half a speed and get a little bit faster. And then once you start getting a reaction from the fish, once you start either seeing followers or have a fish blow up on it, stay with that speed and try that for a little while and see if you get one to pin. You may have just found one fish that, you're going to find those little dinks that just want to eat anything that moves. But once you find that speed, try to stick with it, and then start adding twitches or different movements, whether it's a glide bait, start adding pauses and twitches and burns, but always go back to that speed. And always know, this is actually from the new guys, always know that if you go and you're not getting anything at all until you're actually just burning the crap out of the bait and almost running it, subsurface or leaving a wake, then start over and go back to your slow speed. And then once you get a trigger, start adding start adding motion and movement back to that bait to see if you can figure out exactly what they want. And once you do, that bite will generally last all day. But if you're on a bite and something shifts, it could be weather, it could be sunlight, if the clouds move in or move out, anything can change how the fish are going to react to that bait. Just start over again. Like if you're on a good bite and it just suddenly dies, start slow again. Just start over and work through your speeds until you find out a lot of it is speed related. I keep saying speed, but a lot of it is speed related.
So one thing I'm really curious about here is how swim bait fishing varies regionally. Like,
I am too.
Kevin, you're in Missouri. You spent some time in California. I want to hear from Keith on, are there any differences or nuances that you have to employ in your swim bait fishing on the East Coast, a pressured body of water like Lake Nakamixon, it gets fished hard. Mm-hmm. Are there certain things that you have to do in your swim bait fishing different from maybe the West Coast style or the Midwest style?
Well, I've never been on the West Coast. I've never been in the Midwest. Probably the biggest thing, springtime related, is like when we get into the bluffy areas. We call it the 30 by 30. 30 feet out, you're sitting in 30 feet of water or greater. Yeah. In those situations, we cast straight to the shoreline. I shouldn't be saying this, but we'll cast straight to the shoreline and bring it straight out. No paralleling, no angles, straight in and straight out. 90% of those fish are going to follow it out to over open, deep water. And we're only working them, 1 to 2 feet below the surface. And they'll either hit it halfway to the boat or not even 10 feet off the side of your boat. That, like, for the giants here, and it's not just,
so they have to see it and track it for longer?
It's almost like they want it away from anything.
Wow.
It's like when we get, like, most of ours that are like 7.5 and bigger, very rarely do we ever get them parallel. Now, once we get into, the flat areas, it don't matter. I mean, angles, it's out the window because they're in grass or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, like, bluffier areas. If I parallel, will I catch? Yeah, I'm sure I will. But but the ones you want, every one of them comes from casting straight to the shoreline, bringing it straight out, and they want it over deep water. It has nowhere to go.
And what I want to know is how far these fish will actually travel for a bait. Like in both of your opinions, like, is a fish going to travel 100 yards? Is it going to travel
it's visibility? I mean,
what are we looking at here as far as the visibility goes, or does the water displacement play too? Or
water visibility has a lot. I mean, that's a huge factor on how far they're willing to track, come up to it. We've pulled them up from 20 feet.
So what's your visibility where you're at?
Well, it varies, man. Springtime, it's a little bit dirtier, and that's the other thing with water visibility. We, as fishermen, we look in the water, and we've all done it. Drop a jig down there, or whatever. Oh, it's only 3 feet. No, it's not 3 feet. That's our perspective.
Right.
The fish's perspective, you can triple that, quadruple that number. Now, they'll still see the bait up there. They might not see detail in it, but they see it.
They know it's there.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah. What gear ratio reel are you both using, and what is your favorite swim bait reel? I know you probably have a couple, but for the viewers out there that might want to get one reel, gear ratio and brand, big paddle handle. I mean, talk about it. Got to know.
You know what? I do stuff a little bit different.
All right.
I'm like with the 10-inch baits that are 4 ounces. I'm using flipping sticks. That's what I'm. Now, once I get into my 12-inch baits that are 7 ounces or bigger, I'm using a Revo Beast reel. And it's on a G Loomis swim bait stick. But
and what's the gear ratio on that Revo Beast?
7-1.
7-1. Thanks. Yeah. Okay.
I like higher speeds for everything.
Good to know.
Most of the action I'm applying into my lures, is through the reel.
Yeah.
Very little rod tip.
Yeah.
So
And
Sure.
You have the power to speed back up once they
Right.
bite and horse them in.
Right.
Is that the same for you, Kevin, or something different?
I like the Shimano Tranks. For everything small, I like the 200 up to even the Legend, even up to like a 9-inch bait. It can handle it. If I'm throwing exclusively 9-inch baits, I bump up to the 300, the 300 size. And anything bigger than, if I'm getting into the King and stuff like that, I like the 400 size. And for me personally, I like the fastest gear ratio possible.
Okay. Good.
Yep.
I like
You're
that.
just like I'm fishing the 200, and you can't hardly find them anywhere. But the AXG, and it's 8.5 to 1 ratio. That reel just pulls in so much line that each quarter turn you're bringing in so many inches of line that you can really get a reactive strike by only using your reel. I don't really use my rod a whole lot for input. At least not very often. If I'm ripping and trying to, get commotion on the surface or something like that, I'll rip it and use my rod a little bit. But for the most part, I'm only using the reel. Point your rod down, point it in, towards the water, and just use your reel. And having a fast gear ratio allows you to do that.
I got a question on the message board from Risby Fishing. He wants to know what is the ideal setup that you would both recommend for somebody that has no experience in swim bait fishing. I have never thrown
I'm going to
swim
answer this
bait
one for Kevin.
like this. What's my as somebody that's green? I'm novice. I don't know anything about what I'm doing. Give me a rod size, a reel, line setup that I can pretty much go across the board with any of these big style glide baits or swim baits and be relatively in the game as far as fishing effectively.
I'll let Kevin answer that because he's got a good stick out on the market now.
Nice.
Yeah, so a lot of his price point, there's cheaper price points out there. We kind of hit on the high to mid range where we kind of fall in that, but we actually just introduced a rod just a few weeks ago. We've been working on this rod for over 8 years and finally got it what I feel like is right. And this rod, we put a ton of time and energy, gone through tons of prototypes and all that stuff. We've got 2 different versions, and I'm not gonna try to turn this into a pitch or anything, but there's a reason. I've only used my rods, so that's the only thing I can really recommend. Now that they're out and available, they're a little bit on the pricier side compared to some, but they're not the expense of a full-on custom. But we've got a 711 extra heavy, and it's got some parabolic bend to it, and that thing, I've got striper close to 40 pounds on it already on this particular rod, and it handles them just fine. It's rated for 3 to 7 ounces and 15 to, what do I have it rated at? I have to double check just because I don't want to lie. 15 to 25 pound line. That rod right there, it's our extra heavy. That's going to cover your bases anywhere from it's rated 3 to 7 ounces, but you can always throw lighter. And I've thrown heavier. I wouldn't recommend it because there's a reason there's a rating on there. But that's going to cover all your bases from anywhere from a beginner swim bait, like an S-Waver, or a Chad that we produce, all the way up to the Legend or anything in that 7 ounce range. That's my favorite rod that I'm throwing right now. And I throw it on the extra heavy. I'm throwing the 300 Tranks on it, 20 pound big game or P line, even 17 pound P line. I don't personally like fluoro. I've just had some bad experiences with fluoro, and so I stick with big game. It's really strong. There's a reason saltwater guys throw them on every party boat trip out there. It's a really strong, durable line, and it's cheap. You can replace it every trip if you want to and not break the bank.
Right on. What's your rod retail for? I mean, we got to know.
Yeah, these are $325 shipped.
Okay.
So they're as close to a custom rod that you can get without going full custom. It's still a production rod. It's our own proprietary blank. That's why it took so long in the trial and error phase. We didn't just go and cut down a muskie rod. We didn't try to, rebrand or name a blank that's already out there. This is our specific blank, and we just got lucky and had really good relationship with the company that's making them. And,
Made in America. I see the flag on it. I got to know. Yep. Oh man, that's awesome.
Brian,
bravo, man. Bravo.
Brian, is that your rod?
That is my
what
rod.
kind of guy?
You got
325. It could be yours.
Yeah. Let's see how fast you can run.
Come on, man.
What?
I'm old.
All right.
But yeah, a lot of times gone into those rods. You know, it's just like the baits. I wouldn't put something out that I wouldn't put my name on, and my name's right there on the rod. So
Right on, man.
I like it.
Tons of time and energy gone into that, and they're doing pretty well so far. We got a ton of good feedback. Luckily, they're shipping. We've shipped out a bunch and only had 2 fail during shipping. So that's a pretty, that's when you get into rods, that's probably your biggest downfall right there is shipping them out and having the carriers not break them. So
UPS.
Yeah, especially nowadays. It's getting worse.
I'm telling you, man, the UPS drivers. I got a buddy.
All right, so we got the rod, we got the reel, we know the baits we're throwing now.
Yeah. I got one question about the reel.
Okay, go.
Real quick. That 300, one single handle?
That's 2.
On the 300?
Yep.
So I know a guy that's got some tranks at his house just sitting there, never even used.
Who?
Me.
I'm in.
I got a bunch of them sitting
How
there.
much you want for him there? GDP?
I'm not going to bargain with you, Eric.
No, I got my own tranks, bro. I'm good. I'm saying BTC's. He's listening. He's in the market.
I'm using Corrados from like 93.
Pete gave them to you in
that's
1700.
That's actually probably worth more than a tranks.
Is it really?
It could be.
I've got a bunch of them.
So I got an out of left field question for both you guys, Kevin and Keith. So did you ever watch Southern Trout Eaters?
No.
Never watched it.
I maybe.
So
is that a movie?
that's what
Winding River?
It's Matt Peters, and it's about I think they still sell it on Tackle Warehouse, but it's about a group of guys that chased big bass down in the Carolinas and Western Carolina using big baits, Huddlestons, of course, and glide baits, and even Nazuma rats. And
Trouser
so
trouts?
I think you guys would love it and enjoy it. What's that now?
Trouser trouts?
Trouser trouts. No, Southern Trout Eaters, man. Southern Trout Eaters. So anyway, yeah, I just had to mention it. So
All right.
turn you guys on to something new.
Go ahead, Riz.
Next thing, because I'm the guy in the room that has never thrown a swim bait. So you know what, the floor's mine. I'm holding on to it. I know the rod now. I know the reel, line set up a little bit, and the baits that I'm throwing. I want to know about the mindset that I have to be in when I'm going to go out and I'm going to go hook a 7-inch or bigger bait for 8 hours, and I'm only looking for certain classes of fish to bite, because I'm a guy that I need to get bites throughout the day to keep me involved. How do I get in the mindset to go out and throw the big bait?
Leave all your other sticks at home.
Yeah, that's the only way, right?
It's the only way.
It's got to be.
No, but there has to be something like how do I begin to tap into that?
Go to California, catch a giant, 16 pounds off a buoy, and you're good.
No, there's something more. There's got to be something more to it.
I mean, there is research into it. Like any waterway, you got to know where they're at for that time of the year. And then, whatever lake you're on, the forage that they're feeding on, mostly, whether it's bluegill, shad, alewives, whatever. And then it's a learning curve. Every time, I have a 16-year-old son, Cole, and every time we go out, it's a wasted trip if you didn't learn something.
Right.
Whether it was right or wrong, or a good idea or a bad idea.
I mean, that's every fishing trip.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's the same thing applies to throwing swim baits. I mean, there's a huge learning curve with this.
I bet.
There's a lot of frustration, man. Kevin will tell you. You have some giants that follow, and you just can't get them bastards to trigger on it, and you're just
it's got to fire you up.
But that's also the drive.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
exactly.
also the drive to go. I mean,
Right.
realistically, it would be boring, and I'm speaking for myself. If every time you went out and you threw a swim bait and you just ripped giants all day, I know guys are gonna be like, "Oh, he's crazy." No, but it would get old.
Right. It's like rock stars that just bang supermodels all the time. All of a sudden, they end up, they end up weird. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, you need that
stuff.
So you need to
need
get
the high and lows.
Yeah, you need to get buck fever. You need to see this thing coming. You need to feel it. You need to get that bass to commit. I mean, it's a.
And how hard is it once you've tapped into that and you've harnessed how to get the bite on that thing? How hard is it to put the freaking bait down? Am I going to be out there skipping docks with a KGB on the flats?
It's 15 years hard.
Well, dude, yeah, on the outside looking in, look at our guys in the elites and the FLW. Some guys kind of are hurting their career because they can't put it down.
Some guys have.
You know?
Some guys have.
So it must be that addicting, which is crazy.
It is extremely addicting.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hey,
you're
Rick,
interacting
that
with the
first time
fish.
You cast a king shad off and you see the line snap and it goes 75 yards. You'll put that stick down. Let me tell you something, man. You'll
Oh
be
my
going,
God. Dude.
You're out. Yeah, there goes $300 in the drink, bro. And you can't.
I mean, dude, that's it. Like, I've snapped that thing off. It's like, there goes the truck payment. Like,
Bye.
I
That'll
fished-
change
I
mine in a
fished with
hurry,
a-
man. It's happened to every big baiter, I bet, man. Whether they want to admit it or not.
I'd cry.
That like we have a lot of muskie around our lakes.
Oh,
Ooh.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's painful, man. I can't even. do
I
that.
just came back from Champlain, and the amount of mega basses that I gave to pike up there, it'll make you sick.
I've had days where I lost 4 gliders in one day.
Thank God you
because
make
of
them.
muskie.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, still, I mean, it's a pain in the ass. You know, it's not like a 5-minute project.
You guys tapped into two things that are pretty important on there. Was pretty much the confidence. It's kind of what I took from your question, was the confidence to go out and throw these things.
Right on.
And really, for me, if I was to tell anybody new, go out and find some clear water. Find the clearest water that you can. In different states, that varies. You know, in my area, clear water is 15 plus feet. Somebody else's area might only be 3 feet. But find the clearest water you can, and start learning how those fish interact with your bait and what you do, what the action that you're putting into that bait. And once you get reaction from that and you start getting those fish to follow and trigger and all that stuff, then that's where you start to build that confidence, and that will lead you to have that confidence to not put it down. For me, that happened, back in 05 and 06, and I can't put it down. I can't stop. So It is, that confidence will lead to the addiction. And you can't go out and expect when you're brand new to go, you might get lucky and go out and have a great day and slam 15, 20 fish, or you might put in a grind for 2 or 3 weeks and finally get the bite, and it may just be a 2 or 3 pounder. But really, we've both said it, I think probably a couple times, is if you really want to get decent at swim baits, you don't even have to be really good at it. If you want to get just decent at it, you really have to go and fish without anything else in your boat.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you're not going to give it the time.
No, man, that's great advice for any technique, whether you're trying to learn a swim jig or any other bait. That's great advice. And I'll tell you, you guys mentioned depth in speed and cadence multiple times in the show, and that applies to anything you're fishing.
Yep.
Right.
And so it's just a great lesson in bass fishing truth. And if I can share a moment with Riz, so I went down and fished a swim bait at a big bass tour event in Virginia. Saw the power of a glide. I'd thrown a glide of my buddies. I chipped it. I said I bought it, so I gave them the cash for it. I brought it to a practice in North Carolina. This is a trout-colored, not obnoxiously trout-colored swim bait, and literally threw it on a lake that I won't name, but drew fish in the first cove that I went in. It was spawn or pre-spawn, and the number of fish that came to look, I wasn't advanced enough to understand how to trigger bites. I did end up catching a fish off a beaver hut with it. And my buddy didn't believe me until he showed up with his bass boat. And I was in another cut, which is a big spawning area. And he wanted to see the action of this glide. So I tossed it by a dock. There was a boat in the boathouse. And I tried not to hit the motor. So I made a shitty cast just to keep it away from it. And I'm like, watch this. If I do a half turn, it'll slide out real quick. And I'm looking for my next cast to show him something else that I learned on how to operate the bait. And he goes, oh my God, there's a 7 behind it. And literally, I think the fish was about to eat it. So I pulled it away and both of us were just dumbfounded. That was my first cast with him. Clearly, it was drawing pre-spawn fish that were set up. It was stunning, but not even the right color. There are no trout in this lake. And it showed me something on the power of the glide. So I was hooked at that point. I don't have the balls to throw it in a tournament because my partner, I think, would hit me in the head if I did that. But I want to. So, believe me, I pulled it out in practice and caught a few. And he's like, put it down. Do not bring it in the boat during tournament day.
Scooter, come on. That's why you got two people on the boat, Scooter.
Oh, no, I hope you're not watching, Scooter.
Come on, Scooter. That's why I got two people on the boat.
So I've been sold on it, and I've dabbled in it, but I've never ever picked it up in a tournament. But I sure would love to sometimes because like day 2 on Kirk. Anyway, that's another day. So thanks for letting me tell that my experience with big baits out of the gate, and learned a lot since then.
I got a couple follow-up questions.
Yeah.
What buddy made you pay for a bait that you chipped?
That would be Austin Neary from Dreamcatchers Fishing. This is a kid that got recruited to play baseball at Western Carolina and was a bass fishing kid. He won the Casting Kids Championship. He's a really stud in his little pro club. His dad, he was a junior basser. Got hurt in baseball, lost his scholarship, down in the dumps. And I sent him that Southern Trout Eaters DVD, and he's a big bait nut. And that changed his life. And so we decided to fish a big bass tour event. We did a rat bait event, and we did a Smith Mountain event, and we threw glides the entire time. And it was pretty spectacular. I believe I saw a double-digit fish below my bait and couldn't trigger it, but my knees were knocking because it looks like a tuna when it's about 3 feet behind your bait and about 2 feet below it. And he came out of a dock. And I didn't know what to do. He did catch a 7 that was literally 10 feet from the boat. We thought we won the boat that we were fishing for, and we got beat by a guy that found a bass in between 2 docks. Anyway, that's Austin Neary. That's a long way to tell you he made me buy the bait. So
well done, sir.
You done, Brian?
You know me, 1,000 words for 10.
That's right. Riz, what do we got on the IM board for these guys?
Yeah, so the next question I'm going to go with is from Grattan Fishing. He's going to win himself a $25 Gills Gear gift card for this question. And he wants to know, what are the scenarios that you're reaching for a larger size glide bait rather than the relatively small size glide baits?
How do you know?
Who wants to go first?
You don't know. And here's the weird thing. There's times when I'm throwing, like a 6.5 inch and I'm not getting bit. I'll bump up to the 10, not getting bit. I put the 12 on and I get bit.
Yeah.
Craziness.
That is crazy.
Yep. So you don't
For
know.
me, it's just,
you really don't know. I mean, I don't go out there with one, stick. I usually have a variety of stuff tied on, and I'll go through every one of them.
Wow.
Until you find
wow.
what they want.
What about you,
and sometimes it's the craziest of days. I just had it on last Friday. Slick, calm water. I mean, not even a ripple. It's hot. Water's like 69, 70 degrees. And I was actually test swimming my 10-inch. I changed a couple little things in it, and I started smashing them.
Wow.
Like stupid.
Wow.
That's crazy, man. In slick water.
Yeah, slick calm. When I mean slick calm, I mean the water was like tempered glass. It's like.
Did you have sun? Did you have clouds? I mean, what, sunny or cloudy?
No, it was absolutely brilliant sunshine.
Okay, so you're on like bluebird sky day. Wow.
Yeah, bluebird, no wind, hot. Water's still on the warmer side. It was
slick as a plate of piss.
Yes.
That's right.
Horrible conditions for spinbaiting, right?
Right.
It's the worst, right? And you're whacking them.
And then, right. 8-pounders, 7s.
What?
Yeah.
What?
So you don't know. I mean, it's.
What about you, Kevin? What do you got?
So for me, I don't really use my graph a lot. I will sometimes if I'm really struggling, I'll get on my fish finder and start, graphing around a little bit, but I don't even have one on the front of my boat right now. And I haven't really ever. I'm a really visual fisherman. I look at the structure, look at what's going in the water, look at the bank above it. Usually the shore above where you're fishing is going to be underneath the water too. And for me, I kind of do have a little bit of a rule, I guess. It's not a rule, but the bigger the structure you're getting into, if you get, if you're fishing pea gravel, that can always hold big fish. But if you have a big transition from pea gravel to a main lake point, and that main lake point has chunks of rock the size of your car there, and it's just big boulders with huge crevices or any big structure like that, I also upsized my bait. Just gives them a little bit more drawing power, a reason to leave that crevice. You know, some of these places that I'm fishing here in the Midwest, you know, Table Rock, for example, they've got massive boulders and crevices in places. And I want something that's going to give that fish a reason to come out. And so a lot of times I will upsize. And also the bigger the water you're fishing, if you're fishing more main lake stuff, and it's really big and choppy water, I want something that's going to stand out. You know, I don't want to throw, if I have, just for example, Lake of the Ozarks, if you got 3-foot rollers from the boats passing, which for some of the country, you guys up north, you know, that's nothing. But Lake of the Ozarks, you have so many boats passing by and the water's just really turbulent and choppy. I need something that's going to stand out more than a 6 or 7 inch bait. So it's really both conditions. I look at what I'm fishing, the shoreline itself, the structure that's there, and I need that bait to be seen. And so the more turbulent the water is, the choppier it is, or the structure, kind of that dictates what I'm throwing. And then a lot of it just goes off gut feeling. Over the years of doing it, you'll get a gut feeling of like, this is a big fish spot. You know, you might troll down 100 yards and there might only be 3 spots that would hold a giant. And usually that's where I'm going to throw that giant bait. I'm going to upsize according to that.
Quick question, man. A lot of people have been asking, man, a snap on the front of your bait or direct line tie, or does it vary with the bait in your lineup? That goes for both of you guys, Kevin and Keith.
I direct tie.
Yep, same here.
Direct tie.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Brian.
Direct tie?
Yep. That's what men do.
Oh.
So when you say direct tie, okay. So what's the preferred knot you guys are tying?
Balloon. So no snap.
San Diego Jam.
No snap, man. No snaps.
No snaps.
Now, you got to make sure the paint's out of the eye, because look, man, everybody's got a custom paint. It's got some paint in the eye. Do you care? Does it, are you worried about it?
No.
All right. Men, don't worry about paint in the eyes. Just tie that thing on and pray.
Unless it's epoxy.
Sure.
Because I use it.
Rough,
I don't
right?
spray clear coat mine. I brush on 2-part epoxy.
Okay.
If I get a little bit on there, I'm going to pick that off for sure.
I hear you.
It's a little bit different than paint.
Right on. Right on. All right. Thanks.
Brian throws snaps. I see it on his rod right now.
Well, that's what I was told.
By who?
Oliver Nye.
Well, he goes through a whole bunch of baits.
I'm just saying.
He's got more rods than all of us.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Jochimson. I asked both of them too, and they use a split and a snap.
Yeah. Well,
interesting.
At the Bass University, there's no wrong answer, right?
That's
to
right.
each his own, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. As Pete would say, throw Senko.
I feel like
with a snap.
I feel like you get more control over the bait.
Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like you got more control over the bait with the direct tie, like especially on a glide bait. With that snap, it's one more hinge point, and that's not what I'm looking for. I want to know exactly where that bait's at and what it's doing. And if you add another, you're essentially adding another joint.
Yeah, I hear you.
Kind of on a small scale, it's not going to really impact the bait much, but I feel like you lose control over it. I tune all my baits with the snap because I'm running through 100 baits a day when I'm tuning them or more. And there's no way I can direct tie that many baits and actually keep a spool of line. So,
how many baits are you?
But that being said, I know what I'm looking for, and I know what they're going to do when you do direct tie.
Yep.
Kevin, how many baits are you making a month?
A bunch.
I know. That's a lot.
Do we got a number?
He works for the KGB. Can't tell you, or they have to kill you.
It depends on the bait. Some of them take longer, and it depends on how many hours I'm getting in the shop. I've got 2 guys full time now, so they're able to outbuild what I can paint and tune.
That's awesome.
That's for sure. But on a good month, we can put out 400 to 700 baits a month.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a lot.
And that's 400 is comfortable. 700 is
rolling.
We've been doing that pretty consistently because there's we've got a deal worked out with the tackle store, and they're buying them and having them custom painted. So that saves a lot of time right there. So I'd say we're probably in that 700 range, pretty consistent.
Wow.
Outstanding. Have you guys experimented with any shock colors? Talking about colors, we've heard about a lot of natural colors, but have you ever thrown a shock color like in a bait, and what was your experience throwing that shock color? Let's say during the spawn, you know, people throw a methylate trickworm. What are your thoughts about it? Whoa,
Something like
look
that.
at that. What? Eyeballs.
Yeah.
Eyeball.
Oh, yeah.
Zombie.
So yeah, the shock colors. I feel like for some reason for me, it works really good in dirtier water or for smallmouth. Smallmouth just react to bright colors.
Interesting.
And that's pretty much all I've got on that. I mean,
all right.
If it's dirty water, I seem to do really well on shocking colors.
Which one of your baits takes the longest
to make?
Yeah. What's the longest build process?
The longest build process that's actually in production is probably the any of the 3-piece. They just take longer.
Okay.
They're easier to tune. They're almost self-tuning. When you add that second joint, the more joints you add, the less tuning is involved in my experience. Yep. The ones that take the longest to tune are glides by far.
Okay.
But actual build process, the 3-piece baits. It's kind of a give or take, you know.
When are you going to run some crappies again?
we're in the final phase of.
That's right.
I'll show you the updated ones.
Go ahead.
It's already sold, bro.
Go ahead.
So they've got the new eye.
Hold on.
The eyes that we've been running on all our baits, so it looks a little more realistic. We've changed the joint, so the joint's not as gapped as the old ones.
It does look great.
The old ones had a pretty big gap at the belly, and I wasn't happy with that. So we went back and actually changed quite a few things. And I think we're probably going to be running production on these this week.
Hold that up again, Kev.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm trying to get it to where the lighting is decent.
That's sexy.
Yeah, nice. that's pretty amazing, dude.
I do want to know.
So.
Is it still squeaky? Because that seems to be the squeakiest bait you have, or at least.
Yeah, they'll squeak. It depends on how much chlorine is in the pool when I tune them. That's what gives them that squeak. So, I'm not kidding. That's what gives them their squeak. If you just shocked the pool or put a ton of chlorine in the pool, or if you want a bait that doesn't squeak and it has stainless hardware, go throw it in a swimming pool with a bunch of chlorine, and it'll make them squeak.
Or salt water.
Or salt water. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Yep.
Wow.
So,
Kevin, what's your middle name?
Grant.
There you go, KGB.
There it is.
That's it. We were wondering.
He was hoping for Greg.
You let me know. Now you got to send me like 5 of these things.
It's possible.
Huh?
Family discount.
Right. Pretty cool, man. Man, that's some really exciting stuff you said. Besides this, I saw on your site, man, you sell rods, hoodies, T-shirts, hats, stickers, all the above, correct?
Right. Yep.
Cool.
Kind of branching out stuff to do. We needed something, we as many baits as we put on the website, we still can't seem to keep them in stock. So we need something on there for customers that want something, gifts or anything like that. Whether, hoodies and a shirt and all that stuff, that makes great gifts or they're comfortable. I'm wearing them myself. So we needed stuff to put on the website and actually have on there when customers go there instead of it just being empty all the time.
Hey, do you fish a snap on that sticker, or do you tie it straight to the sticker if I'm throwing your sticker as a glide because I can't get one?
Yeah, you probably want to throw a snap on there, maybe some hooks too. That would
okay, cool, man. I was just checking, man. Size 5 dummies, good. All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
What do you got, Brian?
Oh, me?
Yeah, what do you got?
The rip shad.
Yeah.
Talk to me about like time and condition for when's the best time to throw a rip shad versus a chad shad.
Ooh,
and a little bit into the technique of throwing a rip shad because I haven't figured that bait out.
Right. So the rip shad, it was actually, I'll go back on it just a little bit. It was actually a failed attempt at revamping the chad shad.
Okay.
So I was trying to remake the chad shad and bring it out, and I made so many changes. It was no longer a chad shad. It didn't have the same action that I wanted as a chad shad, but it still had a really good action. It was really good at ripping, hence the name. You could just absolutely burn that bait. It didn't like a real slow retrieve, but you could work it really fast. And that leads into your question is what time of year, what presentations are you fishing that bait? It does really well in current because you do have to rip it. You have to keep that bait moving. That's really the best thing to me that makes sense. If there's a lot of current, you can throw that bait, or if it is dead calm and you need to get a reaction. If those fish are only coming, think of it like a jerk bait. It's a very extreme reaction bite. It's one of those bites where they're not wanting anything else unless that bait is just slashing back and forth. And it doesn't glide that well. It doesn't slow roll that well, but it is really a really, really good reaction bait. So if you're going after smallmouth that are super aggressive, post spawn, they're trying to get some of those calories back from sitting there on their bed, or not just smallmouth, large, any fish, when they're trying to get a quick meal and they're slashing at bait balls or anything like that, that is when you want to be throwing that rip shad.
All right, yeah. So, and I was holding it up. It's a, like you said, it's the slim down version of Yo Chad. So.
Yep.
Wow.
And it was kind of a good accident to have, because it ended up being a really cool bait. We need to do more of them. The original mold, for some reason, kind of went bad. I had several molds, and
how's a mold go bad?
Moldy.
I don't know. It was. To be honest with you, I don't know, because it was solid. Yeah. The mold I had was solid, and I don't get it, because every mold that we've poured out of that, I use a mold to make the mold. I don't know if that makes sense, but something went off, and now we've tried 3 or 4 different to bring it back 3 or 4 different times, and they're all coming out tweaked, and it's not how it was designed.
Right. Yeah.
So gonna have to go back and completely redo the molds for that one. Excuse me.
Right on.
Pretty wild, man. I also saw, and maybe you don't want to talk about it, but I saw a thing where you made a giant frog.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true? So what's the deal with that? Because from what I saw on the internet, just a little bit of it, it had people really, really wanted it. I mean, are you planning on coming back out with something like that again, or no?
I do a few frogs a year. I didn't do any last year. I do them and kind of pick and choose. That's the only time I do where it's what you might say is unfair. I pick and choose who I want to give them to, because it's more of that bait is so time consuming that in order for me to actually, it's not a bait I can put into production and keep a business flowing, because I would have to charge way too much, or at least what I know people would pay out the arm for it, but I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Your name's you've got the name now. You can get away with it.
Yeah, I probably could.
You probably could for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, so I only build a few a year. And for gifts or something like that, if somebody has, something that touches me, I'll, somebody comes to me and wants one for somebody wanted one for a wedding proposal gift. Like at their wedding, they wanted to give it to their husband. This girl reached out and wanted to give it to her husband, and that was kind of touching to me. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll build one.
All right, $1,000, honey.
Yeah. But yeah, that frog, really, that started out as just a challenge to see if I could do it and see how it would turn out, and it really blew up more than what I ever anticipated.
How about
I built one and posted some pictures, and it got kind of big and popular. I was like, whoa, cool. And then that show that I was talking about, the Big Bass Dreams premiere, I brought it out there, and that's where I first sold the Chad-Chads. And we were halfway through the show, and I pulled that frog out and put it on the desk, pulled it out of my box and threw it on the desk, and all of a sudden their camera's there. And people taking pictures, and people like, holy crap, it built a lot of popularity. There were a lot of hardcore Swimbait guys there at that show. And they saw the frog, and it really drew a ton of attention. And so I went back, and here's kind of a funny story on that thing too, and why that one particular frog blew up so big. I sat on that frog for a couple months, didn't really do much progress with it. It was a fun project. It wasn't anything real crazy serious for me. My transmission went out on my truck, and at that time I was still working paycheck to paycheck, really, really, I had zero savings. Transmission went out of my truck, and I'm like, well, shoot, I'll build a frog and put it on eBay for the highest bidder. I put it on eBay for $100, and at that time, I was still the KGB brand wasn't huge at that point or anything. So it was a shock to me. It got up to $300, and I was like, heck yeah, that's going to help this transmission. And then it kept going and going and going, and eventually went to the highest bidder for like $1,650.
That is amazing.
$1 shy of paying for that transmission.
I still believe I spent $1,650, but I'll sell it back to you for 5 Chad-Chads and that rod.
Eric, if you had it, it would be in your hand right now. We all know that.
The world may never know.
We know.
The frog is the only
But
one
yeah.
that
The
frog.
Came $1 shy of paying for the transmission. I was like, that was, there was something to that.
That's
amazing.
incredible, man.
That's
What a
pretty
great
cool.
story.
That is
Wow.
a good story.
That's awesome, dude.
Man, everything you said tonight has been really, really cool. Me
sure.
personally, dude, you taking the leap of faith and going, full out on this. It's kind of the same thing I do with bass fishing, so it's kind of the same story a little bit.
Right on.
Man, I learned a ton. It's been really, really good. So
Heck yeah.
what's the best way for these guys to, I know there's probably a line to get these baits. What's the best way for these guys to, purchase your baits? Just go on the internet, or what's the best way?
No, pray.
There's no good way.
There
You're
is
screwed.
none.
There's no good way. Will there ever be a good way?
There you go.
Buy a supercomputer. Get
Will
a Cray. Go to
Write
NASA,
a letter about your husband.
Yeah. Go to NASA and plug your computer in on drop night. That's all I'm gonna say, man. I had like three in my cart, and I don't know. I was watching Netflix, man, and I didn't pay attention for 2 seconds. I went back to push purchase. Gone.
Go on.
Wow.
Done. I couldn't get any of the smooth shads.
Cart
And that
jacked.
brings up a great question, man. Once you answer this one, I got another one. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, mind you, we are trying to put out as many baits as we can, but we got to keep quality too. So we're not trying to make it difficult. They're just the popularity of them has outgrown our production. And I told you guys, we're putting out 500 to 700 baits easily a month. There's a couple tackle stores that I supply right now. There's Hook, Line, and Sinkers in Rogers, Arkansas. And then there's Bait Works in Springfield, Missouri. Those two stores are getting the baits and they've got the rods. So those they sell out pretty quick too, but at least they get them in stock, usually for locals, but it's up to the owners whether they ship or not. So I can't speak for them. But those guys, we supply them. The ones in Springfield are custom painted by Peyton Stumpf. And that guy, he's running Triple P Customs. I'll put a little plug in there for him because he's doing some killer work, and he's one of the only guys that I trust to paint my baits.
Every time he posts his stuff, it's increasing in
quality and
oh my
god,
wow, yeah,
he went from he's I hate to say that he's new because the amount of hours he's put in this year alone. He started really hardcore this year. I'm not exactly sure when he picked up his first airbrush, but he started really hardcore this year. But the amount of hours he's put in this year alone is probably what most custom painters put in 2 or 3 years. I mean, this guy is putting in his time. So that's why he's progressed so quickly.
Yeah, he's putting out some nice work too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Real nice.
And that'll explain the price point too. Theirs are a little bit higher because they are buying the baits and then having them custom painted. So their price point is a little bit higher than what we do, but there's a reason for that because I get a lot of questions for that. That's why they're having to pay for a custom paint job, and justifiably so. And really, nobody's complaining about the price because they're out there catching fish on them.
Is that why you went to the smooth shad? So it's easier to custom paint versus the scale pattern. What was the reason? Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
That, and I didn't want to let my scale pattern out to painters without it. I kind of protect that scale pattern. I don't think anybody's really got it figured out yet, and I want to keep that as long as I can.
Sure.
They're not photogenic. They don't look good in pictures and stuff, but in person, like I don't know, in person they're absolutely unreal.
Sure.
I just can't take a good picture of them, even with the best camera. It just doesn't do them justice. So
right.
I'm trying to, in a sense, protect that scale pattern as long as I can.
Sure. Okay.
So yeah, I said I would never sell an unpainted textured bait, but I will sell unpainted smooth baits. They're just I don't want somebody else to rip that off. It's easy for somebody to make a mold and try to get that textured pattern.
Sure.
Wow.
So the other ways, we're producing a lot of baits. We're trying to sell on every 2 weeks roughly. And it really depends on the batches. And it could, I have a family. I've got a 2-year-old, got a stepson. He's 11. And I'm big on family. So we normally cut off, I'm getting on a pattern of cutting off work at 5 o'clock, and whatever's not done, it goes to the next day. And that could be tuning baits. If it storms, if it's stormy or super cold or something like that, I may not get to tune baits that day. So we're trying to get on a 2-week pattern.
Yeah.
But we don't have a dead set time.
If you can establish as a small business owner, cutting off at 5 o'clock and being successful, good for you, man.
Yeah.
Right.
No, seriously, you're winning because it's as a business owner, like you're married to it 24/7.
Right.
And I still am. I still answer messages while I'm laying in bed and stuff. You know, 'cause,
Yep.
you know, a big part of why we're where we're at is because customer support. You know, if somebody has a bait that breaks, they want to answer right then. Am I going to fix it or replace it or something like that? You know, and you got to take care of your customers. So that's 24/7. You know, if I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll check my phone. If somebody replied, I'll try to get back to them. I can't answer everybody. I try to. If I answered everybody, I'd be on my phone. I wouldn't be building baits. So if somebody does message me and I don't respond, it either went to a file that I didn't see, or it was one of those generic questions where they didn't even take the time to type it out themselves.
Yeah,
A lot of those.
Some people don't
ignore.
even have a question; they just want to bother you.
Yeah, but
what are you trying to say, BT?
We do live videos before every drop. So as I'm finishing the baits, I'll sit there and do a live video. I'll do it on Instagram and Facebook. We'll do a live video talking to the customer, showing everybody, you know, the baits that are coming up. And that's kind of become the format that I use to give everybody a heads up. Usually that's in the evening. Sometimes it's after 5 o'clock, and sit there, press pins. And then I'll take, you know, go off my live videos. I'll take pictures of the baits, send those to Vanessa, and she'll upload them. And right before she uploads them to the website, I'll take another picture and we'll post that to the social media so people know that, you know, they're live. It doesn't seem to matter how many we put on there. They sell out really fast. So anymore, if we don't have 100 or 150 baits, we just roll that into the next drop and make the next drop even bigger. Because if I put 100 baits on there or 150, people get mad that they missed out. So really, we just wait until we got a pretty good number of baits. You know, 200 to 300, somewhere in there is a good average, and that's comfortable for us for shipping them too. We try to turn around and get these shipped within, you know, the last one might be 4 days after they're bought or 5 days after they're bought, but it's because we're packaging them ourselves. We don't have, you know, we sell them and then we package them. And it takes a few days to do that. So that's kind of our process, and it'll get refined. I'm sure as the kids get older, we'll be able to actually have like, okay, on, you know, every Friday at 6 p.m. Eventually I would like to get there, but right now what we're doing works for our family, and that's how we do it.
Awesome, man.
Cool.
Right on, man. Well, we really appreciate you having you on BU tonight, man. Like I said, we all learned a ton, and thank you very much, guys. Kevin Brightwell from KGB Baits.
Woo!
Yes, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah.
Kevin, thank you so much, man. This has been a long time in the making. Him and I have been talking for a while, and it just the timing had to be right, and I'm glad we did it tonight. I'm really glad we did it tonight. And
yeah, let's do it again later. I got some big stuff coming up for next year. There's stuff that's in the works already. So you guys want to touch base again here in the next, I don't know, sometime in the next year.
Yes, yes. We didn't touch on that. Your jigging spoon, your jigging bait.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can we do that real quick? I know. But
I don't even know if I have it.
That was really interesting when you teased with that.
Yeah, let me see if I've got it. I know it's here somewhere, but I'm not exactly sure where.
VTC or the factory tour that you or I were going to do with samples.
So yeah, it's way early in the process, but
yes. Talk about your thought process with that bait.
Really, it was presented to me by a really good fisherman, a local guy. He's wanting to target fish that are down, you know, pretty much he's wanting to target fish using live scope during the wintertime and try to get a good reaction from them. There's a specific lake. There's a specific lake that we fish that during the wintertime it produces really, really big fish, but they're generally kind of deep and around brush piles and stuff. So we wanted a bait like I hate ice jigging, right? I like throwing big baits. So it's pretty much just a giant ice jig. Something that it's almost like a decoy, like they use for muskie. Mm-hmm. Something that you can just bounce around and it's going to keep doing circles. And yeah, that's kind of the idea.
Fascinating.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's really I had I wish I had one here to show you. I don't even know where it's at. They're so rough. It's not even fun. Like you guys would laugh if you saw the prototypes of it.
Huh.
So.
Well, thanks, man. Well, like I said, we really enjoyed tonight. Look forward to getting with you again in the future. And there you go, guys. Kevin, KGB Baits. Thanks, man.
Nice.
Excellent.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Yeah. So.
Excuse me.
Hold on a second, guys.
Been a great show. I can't tell you how much I've learned just from having these two guys on the show. You know,
Yeah, me too.
Expanding what I even thought about swim bait fishing and the ideas that I had about it.
Yeah,
I'm like completely mind blown.
I am too, and I was surprised that Epic Eric didn't bring up crankbaits with Kevin Brightwell at all.
He wanted to.
I mean, you put me in the penalty box, man. So I wasn't going to ask him if he was going to put a lip in that Chad next year, but I'm sure it's on the way because if he doesn't, I will. Fast lad, and I'm going to do a crank down KGB, and I'll be the only one in the country to have it. So there you go, BTC. You got it. I've already been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah, so what do we got, Riz? We got a giveaway. We doing like and share and all that stuff?
Yeah. Guys, as always, we're going to be giving away something now at the end of the show. We're actually giving away a KGB Chad to one of our lucky Bashu TV subscribers.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a sought-after bait, as you can tell. I mean, we just talked about it. It's really, really hard to get one of these things. And question that we are going to go with for tonight's grand prize trivia question, and now mind you, guys on the panel, Kevin, don't answer the question over the loudspeaker here because we need to get this to our guys on Bashu TV. But the question is, what is Kevin's #1 sleeper bait in his lineup, in his opinion? What is Kevin's #1 sleeper bait in his lineup, in Kevin's opinion? Guys, this is going to win you a KGB Chad. Let's hear it on the message board.
Right on. So this weekend, I guess there were some derbies going on, huh? Everybody fished something this
There
weekend?
sure was. Holy smokes, the board is on fire.
Did they get it?
Oh, yeah, instantly. There's actually smoke coming out of the side of my laptop right now.
That's awesome.
Like hundreds of answers coming through. And
Go ahead.
I guess I'll just go ahead and get right to it. Patrick Loudon is the winner of tonight's grand prize for a KGB Chad. And the answer is the Benson.
Wow, that was quick. That was like the fastest ever.
And the Benson is named after?
Paul.
Kevin?
I missed it. What?
I don't know either. I'm like lost, dude.
And the Benson is named after?
It's after my son, actually. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
And we've got a new version of it coming up. I didn't get the chance to show you guys that. So this is going to be the B2. Since he is now 2 years old, we've got a second version of it coming up.
So what's the difference of it with that?
It's a little bit smaller.
Okay.
So the original Benson.
Yeah.
The original Benson is 9.5 inches, so it's a little bit smaller. We downsized it a little bit. It's almost the same size as the Chad.
Oh.
So it's a little more snacky. It's a smooth bait.
Snacky.
Yep. It's a smooth bait. It's got a big eye. It's kind of a cool bait. It's going to resemble, we can do multiple paint jobs on this bait and get away with it. It looks, I mean, it's going to hold any kind of paint job really well. Anything from a carp to a catfish to a shad, it's going to hold that paint job really well and really mimic any bait fish that's out there. So this thing's going to be coming out probably in the next week and a half, 2 weeks. We've got several of them in the paint booth ready to go. So
Right. Did that have double split rings on it, man?
No, not this one.
Okay, just check.
Yep.
Check.
Okay. You can add one if you want to add a little extra twist, you know.
Sure.
But just don't put a
add
snap
that
on it.
ability.
No snaps.
No snaps.
Negative.
Sorry,
Real men
BTC.
don't use snaps, bro.
Yep.
Real men don't use snaps.
Remember,
One of the
remember Snacky?
Snacky.
The barmaid from
Snacky.
whatchamacallit?
I don't know. Dude,
No.
when I used to
I'll
perch
touch it.
fish, I never even used a snap.
I'll touch a little bit on these. These baits are really cool. You can get them to go one direction. Most multi-joint baits, it's really hard to get them to. You can't steer them. It's just straight line retrieve. But these baits, when they paw, you can actually walk these sideways, so you can parallel a shoreline even if you're not on the shoreline. So you don't have to be on top of those fish and spook them.
All right, tell me how.
So
Go ahead.
Casting real, Brian.
No.
really, it's what you have to get a sight on the bait first. Once you can see it, keep it up by the surface, and when you pause it, its head will normally go one direction.
Yeah.
And then if you give it just a twitch. This is one of the only times I'll add rod movement. If you give it a twitch down, it'll cut out and then go back the same way. So you can keep walking it, in one direction.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you want it to stop doing that, it's once you get it in the rhythm of doing that, you have to just pop, 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 almost like you're walking the dog with the top water.
Yeah.
But to get it back out of that, you have to stop and just reel it for a little bit and get it to quit that motion. It likes to carry that motion once you get it going. And then you can do it either direction. So you can steer this bait pretty drastically around cover. You can steer it, behind trees and then come back around. So you're not actually, around standing timber or along shorelines. So that's why I say the Benson is a sleeper. You can do it with the old one too. You really have a lot of control over that bait, even though it's still a multi-joint. You can still steer it as if you would a glide.
Very cool, man.
That is neat.
So
that's dirty.
Yep.
I like it.
All right, man. Kevin, thank you so much, man. This has been a
thank you.
blast.
It has been.
Yeah, no problem.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna let you go, buddy. I'm gonna kick you out of the Zoom, and again, thanks, dude. It's a long time in the makings, but well worth it, man. I appreciate your time.
Right on.
Definitely nice.
Yes, sir.
Nice
Thank
to
you
meet
guys for your time.
Thanks again.
Yep. Thank you.
No problem.
I'm sure Eric's got plenty of notes from tonight. Would you say so or not?
Oh yeah, man.
I bet.
Watch the replay, bro. It's awesome. I learned. It stepped up my game. No question about it, man. No question about it. So those are two really experienced swim baiters to have on, and bait makers in particular. So answered some questions for me, opened up some new paths on gear, confirmed some things that I've been doing on hook size and diameter. And certainly picked up a big tip on triggering bites. So Keith, man, thank you very much for being generous and sharing, and really depth and speed and cadence. Were a player for me tonight. Those are my big takeaways. So excellent stuff, man.
Keith, do you have any advice for Epic Eric on how to approach his tournament partner?
My God.
Just
like I'm a counselor now.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like, hey, I'm a guy. I'm a human too. I count. My opinion.
He's epic.
No, you know what's interesting? I'll tell you if you got a second, because I know it was on the show notes. We didn't talk about it. So we fished a championship on Kerr.
Yes, let's
go
with that.
Championship on Kerr. And, we were going to go in blind with no practice. He's a full-time, he's in deer camp right now, putting people in the woods, tracking deers till 11 o'clock at night. This is his living and job. So every day of practice is income out, and I get it, right? But he did manage a day of practice, found about 11 to 12 pounds, long run, big gamble to do what he did. So we opted not to do that. Day one, the place has been beat up. It had a regional BFL down there the week before, low weights. This is Kerr, by the way, in North Carolina, Bugs Island. And so we had stone cold, pouring rain, cold front came through, temperature dropped. First hour of the tournament, no bites. So I don't know what made me do it, but I picked up a swim bait, finesse style, no joint in it, about 3 inches long, with what normally someone would have used for the head for smallmouth. That's all I'll say. I doctored up my bass lab, added some twist to it, throw it on 10-pound braid, 10-pound test, picked up a 3.5 and like a 2 3/4. He got a couple whopper plopper fish. We ended up with 14.05. I caught a lot of little fish that didn't add to the creel, but I did put 3 in the bag, 1 on a crankbait. And so, I thought it was a great first day. Day two's different. The fish turned even more negative. Hitting the bait, mouth closed. Crazy, right? At one point, the thought crossed my mind to dig in the big bait box. I did bring a glide. They're absolutely keying on blueback herring this time of year, right? And very small shad. So I went micro to catch fish day one. They were still eating the micro bait day two, but no keepers. I wanted to go big, and I didn't do it. I'm kind of kicking myself in the butt because we fell short. We were in second place after day one, within striking distance to win a boat, and I didn't do it.
Kick Scooter in the butt.
I wish, no, that's not Scooter's fault. That's my fault. Because I think
he bullied you.
He would have said, now in the last 40 minutes, we got the bites to come in second.
Oh.
but they knocked the bait out of the water. It just did not convert and didn't hook up. We got the bites. He actually took us to an area. He made the right call. The fish were there, but I just wonder if I had thrown a glide, what might have been.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You'd have a Ranger boat in your driveway.
Ooh.
I guess live and learn.
I'm telling you, I just don't know. And I want to experiment. I saw one of the biggest fish I've ever seen. I think it was a teener in a very early pre-spawn tournament, come out of a dock, first dock, classic, right? Big fish can be on the first dock. Caught a lot of fish on it. It's a great bait. It gets bit, gets a lot of followers. I'm no expert swim baiter, but I've thrown it enough to experiment and catch fish, but never had the balls to put it on in a tournament when we might be struggling and gambling. I don't know about your thoughts on that, but I'd love to hear your perspective. BTC, thanks for bringing it up.
Wow.
And Scooter, if you're watching, I'm sorry for what anybody's about to say.
Man, I would say personally, if you're struggling, man, why not?
Yeah.
You know,
and it's kind of crazy because if you don't throw them and you don't throw them all the time, you don't understand what the true meaning of drawing power is.
I do understand the meaning of drawing power. I've seen it too many times.
Well, I'm talking in general. I'm not talking directly about you, but in those situations, I mean, man, I probably put in at least 30 minutes in key spots. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're struggling with everything else, what do you got to lose?
That's
you know?
right.
Game.
Right.
Yeah,
you might be seriously surprised, man.
Yeah, I think I would have been. We just couldn't put it together why we weren't getting the bites.
Here's the thing, Eric. If you're not getting bites, why not get bites on a big bait?
You know what? I mean, man, I wish I had it to do over. We've been in second place early spring tournament. I blew it day one. We're still in second place. Ounces out. This is a $20,000 tournament. Ounces out of first. And I lost a 6 and a 4 on a Senko. Sorry, BTC. But, you know, I mean, fish right in front of the boat. You know,
how do you lose them on a Senko? They
come off the hook.
You tell me, man. I don't know. I just don't know. They came unhooked. I can't tell you why, man. But no, same thing, man. I mean, day two.
Give them a minute. They'll digest the thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say
coming out the other end.
Yeah, hook them in the anus.
You don't even need a hook.
I was using my Loomis and I felt the tick too sensitive a rod. I should have just let him swallow it.
There you go.
Get an ugly stick.
Man.
That's what Gary's using. He uses ugly sticks, right?
Yeah, man.
True story. Gary Yamamoto's out there with
so's Matt, your boy.
That's right.
He's from ugly sticks.
So for a generalized tournament swim bait, glide bait, in the time of year when you think it's applicable, or is it glide all year long for you? Do you feel the glide can draw fish, get bites in the spring, summer, fall, and winter?
Yeah, springtime is like probably obviously the premier time to throw them.
I agree.
Summertime, pre-front. You know, when it starts getting windy before those storms roll in, I'll pick it up and throw it for sure.
Right on.
Summertime, nighttime. I throw them a lot at night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So if you had to pick one of your baits on the table, that would be your tournament bait. And I know you're way advanced than the rest of the people that are watching, even me. But if you just had to say an overall bait that you'd pick that generates a lot of bites and a lot of drawing power, which one are you throwing?
As in size? Or
yes.
The 10-inch.
And color.
10-inch, and for color, I would absolutely go with like I call this one Ice Out.
Okay.
It's a lighter shades. It's more pale. It'll be that right there.
Is that for
big
sale?
girls like the
Is that
10-inch.
sale a chance? I'd like to bid on it right now. Start the bidding, Brian, at 200. I'm in for 200. Who's got 205? Let's go. No, seriously, do you sell your baits?
Yeah, I do. Here's the problem.
Okay.
I work full time, and I'm a fisherman.
Okay, I'll wait. Don't worry about it.
And he fishes.
I'm a fisherman first. That's the problem here. Winter time is when I really kick it in high gear with building. I usually do like 2 shows.
Okay.
But I'm trying to gear. See, the thing is, my shop is pretty small, and to go into like a lot of production is it's almost non-existent. So I need to build a new shop, and I want to go more towards the route of doing like online sales. So
for sure. Okay, so just write my name down. It's Eric Galasso. I don't care where I am. BTC, we will talk after the show.
I got you, buddy.
I'm not going to say you owe me, but I'm going to say you owe me.
I got you.
It's on, man. Thank
you.
you. No, that's great advice. I appreciate it. On a serious note, man, I know I'm joking, but I'm serious about it. That was great insight. Thank you.
Yeah, for people watching, Blacktown Custom Baits on Facebook, go give him a follow and get in line.
Wow.
And one of these days, if we can get him, squared away.
Don't message me because it's overwhelming. Like I don't even advertise. I don't hashtag none of my stuff. Everything's word of mouth. I do have a Facebook page, but when I do post a picture, whether it's on my page or whatever, the messages is just, it's insane. And you feel horrible because you just can't get to them all.
Wow.
Sure.
You feel like a bad person, but
you're a good man. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I know.
Rich has no problem ignoring the messages. Let's talk about that, Rich. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, man.
Hey.
You know what I mean? You got your strong suits, you got your weak suits. You see me at the boat ramp, I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna give you the time of day. I'm gonna engage in the conversation. But hey, if I don't get to a DM, I'm sorry.
He's a weak fish. Like Rizzo, man, never knew, man. Never knew. I don't take it personally now. Thank you, BTC, for that insight.
Oh, no.
Ouch.
I'm not insulted
Eric,
anymore.
I'll pick up the phone and talk to you for 30 minutes at a clip any day of the week. So come on, man.
And you did. You let me talk about my wounds coming out of that tournament this weekend, man. I'm down here at the Salt healing my wounds, man. Caught my limited trout tonight. We wrecked them tonight on the bridge, man. Just wrecked them. 45 minutes, 12 trout on the deck, including 2 over 20 inches, man.
All right.
We put on a show. And the bridge was shoulder to shoulder, man. Big speckles moved up, and we whacked them. So good stuff.
Right on, man.
Wow.
Good deal.
Epic Gabe, man. I can't thank you enough, dude.
Yeah, we gotta like and share.
We do.
You're the man, buddy.
Yeah, we do.
Right on,
Tonight's Facebook like and share for the Bass University Live podcast is Josh Howard. Congratulations, Josh Howard.
Josh,
you won. That's right, $50. Guys, Josh, you won.
Yeah,
man, what a show.
We good to go,
show.
guys?
Yeah, I think so. You
Eric,
wanna,
good?
Yeah. Were you guys
No,
live
man,
last night? Eh?
What's that now?
Were you live last night?
Yeah, I was live with Smallmouth Crush. I was having dinner with some friends of the family here. I'm down at the beach place, man, and he's down at my place for a week. He invited me down. I was already in Carolina, so I popped down. It's Jack Rinkers, man. We did some fishing yesterday. Got my limited trout this morning, and just a fun 2 days so far, man.
What'd you guys get into last night?
Oh, jeez.
Just watching that crazy Baltimore Ravens comeback. Whoa! Who saw it on Monday Night Football? Unbelievable.
Football?
Oh, you're talking about after
parties.
The show.
Oh,
no,
football.
I was really behaved on the Smallmouth Crush
show.
For those of you who don't know that are watching, I'm the co-host of Travis Manson's Smallmouth Crush YouTube live show, and we're about to head up to New York to do some really cool filming.
Nice.
With Will from Gajo Baits and some other folks, so some YouTubers, and it's going to be fun. I don't know what we're going to get into, but there will be some big bait action. I'm hoping. I'm bringing them out and I'm testing them because it's all
musky bait.
I don't care. I'm trying it.
Do it.
I like it.
Doing it.
You're the man, bud.
Yeah, good deal, guys.
Thank
Eric,
you for having me on. I really appreciate you having me on, BTC and Riz. Thank you for the invite.
Yes.
Thank you. And Greg, thank you, man. Been great co-host along with you, or special guest or whatever I'm doing
all the
tonight.
above. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Keith,
Whoever
thank
I
you
am.
very much.
Sure, absolutely.
Dude, we've
Wow.
all learned a ton from you tonight.
That's nice.
For
Keith,
sure.
man. That's just great stuff.
for sure.
Keith.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Guys, I'm going to post
Amazing.
Keith's phone number.
Posting up on the message board
That's
right
right.
now.
That's right. BTC, Riz, thank you guys. Everybody watching, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for participating in all this stuff. And we'll see you guys possibly next Tuesday, I'm guessing.
We might, we'll talk about it.
We'll see. But thank you very much. Have a good night, and we will see you next time we see you.
That's right.
Right on.
That's right.
Tight lines, everybody.
So
Peace.